this room this winter.
We can talk about it. All right, I think we're going to get started. I think we got everybody here that needs to be here. So I don't know if we've got members of the public to speak tonight. Are you all here for agenda items? Is everyone here for agenda items? No? Okay. Well, then we can move through that. All right, so we'll start with, I guess, with Kyle and company. Come on up and tell us what's going on. How'd you manage to swing here to be alone?
Family issues.
Oh, okay. I somewhat envision this to be a little bit more of a round table. If you gentlemen want to kind of come up and, if you're on item, certainly items on this first one there, we can, we're doing some very preliminary discussions about this now. This is nothing, no plan. We're just trying to make sure we get everybody involved from the get-go.
Did you want me to provide some background or not?
Sure.
Let Kyle do
Or Kyle, yeah. Either one of you. You guys have been.
So what we're talking about is the Fields Farm property as well as the Sauhegan River canoe launch point or takeout point near Severance Bridge. So they're two separate items, but through discussions that we had earlier this year in the February through April timeframe, or maybe we even started in January with George and Kyle, myself. Matt Kasparius was involved with some of the meetings, and Paul, I'm not sure Paul's last name.
And Delia.
Paul was working.
Yeah.
like
So
you said.
yeah. So and Paul was part of the conversation. So what precipitated this was the fact that there's some issues with the takeout point and launch point at Severance Bridge. There's been some runoff problems. The town's been doing work over there. There's challenges with parking and other things like that. And the thought was maybe there might be opportunities to provide another way to do that, which is introduce the idea of Fields Farm, which is a property that the town owns and the commission manages for conservation reasons. That's just downriver from that bridge. And then we thought maybe there's an opportunity to fulfill some of the desires of that property, which it was purchased for both conservation and for passive recreation park purposes. So maybe we can create a project that will accomplish a number of items and release some of the strain on that takeout point, and provide opportunities for the town to mitigate that area in some way. So I'm not sure if I've gone overboard here, but.
Sure, and I can jump in from there.
Yeah, and I know George has more history to this before I even got involved, so.
Thanks. So for the record, my name is Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the town of Merrimack. As Tim said, the Sauhegan River canoe launch has been something that we've been working with George May as the chairman of the Sorlec group, have been discussing for quite a number of years. The canoe launch has been there for a long time, and it's in very poor condition due to the riverbank erosion. At its best, it was a difficult place to navigate to. It's a very small parking area, and then a fairly steep drop down into the river for the folks using their canoes. So we've been looking at...
Has there been repair efforts there before? There's a lot of what looks to be very large riprap in there, and it seems like we've tried to do some work.
Over the years, we've tried to do some minimal things that we can get away with without a permit. The current state is obviously more severe than it had ever been, and so we knew it was going to take a bigger effort, wetland permits, and some more cash. So a couple of years ago, we put it into the capital improvement program, and with the intention of putting some money towards fixing the area. As Tim mentioned, out of the blue last spring, I think it was Paul who initiated the meetings from the Amherst Conservation Commission to discuss areas to fix along the route along the Sauhegan River as a protected river. And as discussions went forward, it it looked like possibly a pretty good opportunity to combine efforts and maybe abandon the existing location of the canoe launch in favor of a better spot in the Fields Farm property and have kind of a collaborative process with the Conservation Commission, utilizing some town funds that we were going to program for the canoe launch anyway, some conservation funds that they were going to put towards the Fields Farm project, and even looking at ARM funds from DES Aquatics Resource Management Fund as well. So we'd be looking at kind of three sources of money for this project, and maybe make it a really nice park and trails and canoe access and picnic area. So that's kind of how it evolved. I'll pass around. These are the slides for the canoe launch that we're going to be supplying to the planning board and town council when we do our CIP submission this year, to kind of discuss the project a little further. We're hoping to have the project funded in next fiscal year, which starts July 1st, 2017. So it seems like a really good time to start the conversations between us, Conservation Commission, the Souhegan River Advisory Committee Group, and Matt from Parks and Rec. So that's, I guess I'll turn it over to any questions you guys might have or any other discussion that other folks might have.
So prior to this meeting, I did throw out managed to get everyone a copy of the deed the purchase deed for the town, so therefore you can get an idea of what was intended from a legal standpoint for that property. Hopefully that provides some background. So, and I know Amy was able to find a few of the files we have, and they're over there. Speaking to where there's some mappings that was done. There was actually some data from our forester who looked at the property a number of years ago and stuff like that too over there. So if we want to get to that level of detail tonight, so.
Let me toss a couple of things in here too. Okay, I'm George May. I'm with the Souhegan River Local Advisory Committee. That's the state group that kind of advises on permits along the Souhegan River. And Nelson, who's a member of that committee also. And I'm definitely in favor of more accesses to the river. The more the better. And I brought along a map, just a Google map that I'll leave with you folks, to show the area that would be suitable for an access. And I'm saying that because the area from Severns Bridge down to a brook that comes in on the north side of the river there. The river goes up from Severns Bridge, pretty much a straight line, then it takes a real sharp turn to the right, if people have been out on the river. At that point, after that point, it drops over several ledges, and during the summer, it's not passable. And for most people that want to be in a recreational canoe or kayak, they don't want to go beyond that point. So from that corner down up to Severns Bridge would be an acceptable place to put an access. Mm-hmm. Okay? The river there is fairly shallow in most places. It's sandy, and it's pretty much straight. You can look, if you went down to Severns Bridge and got out in the water, you could look straight down the river. You know, it's pretty much a straight line. But where it goes up, and then I put an X or lines on the map there, where it turns to the right, mm-hmm. Anything beyond that drops over the area that's called Indian Ledges, and that is definitely not suitable. So putting a ramp there, or putting any sort of an access there, would not be suitable at all. So beyond that point. So it has to be in that area. I think that covers a big chunk of the Ireland property.
It does. Yeah.
So I don't think that that's too much of a problem. The bank there's a little bit of a bank,
Right. Yeah.
as there is all along Severns Bridge. About the same
Approaching that corner is about the less slope we have in that whole property is right there towards that corner where you're talking. That seems to be about the least grade change.
Right at that
Yeah,
corner, you mean?
Yeah,
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
And I think there's a house that's being built in there too, Sean Farrell House.
on the north side.
Yeah, there's going to be in there too. So there, there's going to be some activity there.
Mhm.
That should be considered as part of the plan.
Mhm.
I don't think he probably wants it right across from him or, I don't know. But that ought to be certainly considered. And again, the plan would be to have perhaps stairs or steps that would go down from the upper part of the banking down to the river, so that people can walk down there fairly comfortably, especially if, there are a lot of people that are kayaking now that are, older. And so, need a little bit of help getting down there. We run the Souhegan Watershed Association runs canoe trips on the river, and we use that stretch of the river a lot. That stretch of the river, from that corner down there that I'm talking about, all the way back almost to going upstream to almost to Boston Post Road, Souhegan High School, is runnable during the summer. All the time. You could go out there right now, and everybody's heard about how dry everything is. You could put in your canoe at Severns Bridge, and you could paddle most of the way up there. And then you could go back down to that corner and back up again. It's a very pleasant spot. It is also where the picture was taken that was on the front cover of the Money magazine back in whenever Money magazine named
Oh,
the
yeah.
Nashua area
Mm-hmm.
as the nicest place to live in the United States. And it showed a picture of a couple, and I think their dog and a canoe that was taken right there at Severns Bridge, matter of fact. So that area is usable all the time. It's about the only spot really on the river that's like that too. So that's a spot that is a prize. So putting in an access there would be great. Now, back to where I started here.
Here comes the other shoe.
The more accesses, the better. Let me put it this way. Severns Bridge is not going to be forgotten. People will still use it. I mean, there are going to be fishermen that are going to go in there. There'll be canoes that'll go in there. It's just that it's just not suitable the way it is. It should be fixed the way it is. And so that's what I would ask also is, let's put in an access here, but let's fix the access at Severns Bridge also. What it means there is fixing the erosion. There's runoff from the road that comes down the road, and with the recent culvert work, replacement work that was done there recently, that's been improved some. But it would mean channeling the runoff that's coming down the road off to the side, so it's not running into the eroding section of the put-in. And we've had
Do you mean coming all the way down the hill?
coming all the way down the hill, and the road is sloped. That was never a consideration before.
Right.
The idea was, get it off the road and now it's eroding. The erosion should be fixed anyway. We shouldn't be having, the banks of the Souhegan River being washed down into the Merrimack. That shouldn't be happening. It's not good for the river. If it were fixed up, it would mean there's two big washout sections there. I think everybody's familiar with what we're talking about. There's two big washout sections there. That could be filled with stone and gravel and so forth, and have steps put in like on Boston Post Road and various other places. I've had 2 or 3 different Boy Scouts that would like to do a project there, and they've been steered away because it's just not, it's not suitable yet. It's not fixable. So if we could control the erosion, which I think is doable, it would save that as an access also. And the access isn't going to disappear. The erosion should be fixed. So I'd like to have both. Also, one other thing about the putting an access down on the Ireland property here means that you're going to have cars parked and left in the woods. And sometimes that's a police problem. So if they're out of sight. The nice thing about Severance Bridge is, you know, it doesn't mean that nobody's going to swipe anything, but at least it's a little bit more obvious. And again, because of the culvert work that was done there, we've got pretty good parking there right now. They fixed up all the parking on the opposite side of the road. And you can get as many cars as you want in there, I think. So the biggest thing that I'm saying here today is, you know, the space there, you know, where that access would be placed.
Well, the parking in the existing space is along the roadside. And then also over that berm down on the riverside. Is that what you're talking about? Is there space for parking?
Yeah, across from the river.
Right. Oh,
There's pretty good parking. You can park head in. You could probably park 10 cars in there now.
across on the Amherst side? Do you mean across from the river, or on the other side of
On the other
Severance
side
Bridge?
of the street.
Okay. Is it really that wide? It's got for head in?
Shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the shoulders. I wouldn't have thought a head in. You would have been able to get a car head in, but it's that deep. No,
Is
it's that deep to get a car head in on that
Yeah.
on there. Really? Okay.
when they did
Yep.
the culvert work there,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the stuff that was taken out was placed right alongside there. There was kind of a steep drop off
Yep.
before, a little bit of a swale that ran in there, and that's pretty well leveled out. That's pretty good.
Well, on the far side of the street, is that? I mean, can we park cars on the street like that? Is that considered a valid parking space?
Yeah, as long as they're off the street,
Off the
not
street?
impeding traffic. Sure.
Okay. All right.
I can take care of that if you want.
Did you do a plan for fixing the existing, or is that something that we'd have to?
We don't have a plan yet. That's kind of the guidance we're hoping to seek
Right.
here. There's a couple ways we could go with this. One is fix up what's there and make it the best we can and keep it the access. Two is shift gears and move over to Fields Farm for the access and repair the existing area for the erosion, for the protection of the river, which we would do no matter what,
Right.
because we want to stop the erosion. And three is, as George just suggested, we do access at both places and try and make the ultimate package if we could make that happen. So really tonight is about I guess just gathering information for our use, whether Conservation Commission wants us to go forward with looking at the Fields Farm part, because that'd be really a key decision point for us as we move forward in our presentations to the Town Council and Planning Board for the CIP reviews.
I would imagine at some point you're going to be asked to provide an opinion, professional opinion, as to what you think is the right avenue to go. And I'm sure that'll be considered when the town council approves your CIP suggestions. So, are you at this point still in the information gathering stage, or are you at the point where you've actually formed an opinion as to what you think is most appropriate? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
but-
probably a little of both.
Yeah.
I think the conversations we had back in April and May, it sounds like, one of those great opportunities where a lot of things align and it becomes a really good opportunity to make a really nice recreation area for folks to use the river. So I think, personally, I think that's a great thing to try and work towards. So then the secondary issue of the existing area, Certainly from a slope stabilization standpoint, sloping it back, where it's carved out at the steep drop-off, taking more material out and sloping it back, giving it a more stable slope is certainly a good way to stabilize the slope. That would certainly eliminate any thought of parking there. But as George said, when we did the culvert project last year, we did create some parking spots across the street. So perhaps we could kind of marry that we could encourage folks to park on the, I guess it'd be the east side of Severns Bridge Road, and carry their canoes across the street and then down a shallower embankment than what is there today. So I think that could be a good compromise.
Okay.
What are the sight lines there for with parking on one side and trucking it across the road?
The sightlines there are actually pretty good. It's pretty close to the intersection with County Road, Amherst Road.
Okay.
So the sight distance on that side is certainly really good. Looking back the other way to the, I guess it'd be the south, the sight lines are pretty good.
Yeah, that's a pretty steep hill, and you're on the brakes coming down the hill anyways before you turn, because there's
Oh, you hope.
well, that's a right angle turn
I mean,
when you're trying to get down, when you're trying to go right down.
I
so
live
you
on one of those roads where
Yeah.
there's a steep hill.
can- Yeah. Well, I didn't say they're going to be slowing down the hill. They're just going to be making the turn. They're going to kind of have to, or they're going to end up in the brook anyway.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know, I have a car that can do that probably.
You're adept at downshifting appropriately.
That's
You
right.
can get by.
We've done some thinking also about, what would be done at Severns Bridge. And not only just stabilizing the bank, but you can make it, actually a very attractive place, where you could pull up right to the opening, unload your boat, it'd be right there, park across the street, and walk down, and get your boat down into the river. Terracing that out, kind of actually building it up a little bit right at the edge, so that when you pull up, you've got, it would discourage people from driving down there, which I'd like to see anyway, and, making that a little bit more of a park area. So you'd have to walk in there, no more driving in there. So I've got a plan that's on the back of an envelope someplace at home. I'd be glad to come up with something else.
Yeah.
It could be very attractive, though. That spot could be made very attractive.
Yeah, my concern is having vehicles too close to the river, so it would have to be done strategically so someone wouldn't be driving off into the river, or fluids and all that other stuff, so.
Yeah, and depending also on the size of what's going to be the new opening or the new park area, I guess that would, if it's attractive, I would think that people would want to be there instead. I mean, there's going to be a lot gentler slope. That would certainly, I think, in the long term, be a little bit easier access point.
Yeah.
Just because you wouldn't have cars, zooming by and trying to get your boat back and forth across that street. But I understand what you're saying. I mean, people, they like that spot. They're going to continue to use it, regardless we put
Well,
up a
people are
sign or
going to
not.
use it anyway.
Right.
Either
Right.
fishermen or boaters or wherever. People get used to it, and they can see it there. But putting the new access in there, first of all, it opens up that area a little bit,
Mhm.
so that it can be used for recreation. I think there's trails in there now, but that's just kids. So, opening it up so you've got adult recreation in there would be, this is part of doing that. I think that's great.
I'm going to speak for everyone, but someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we were ever opposed to going towards Fields Farm for this project. I don't think that was ever not, that was never a question. I think we were always like, yeah, that's a great idea for that area. But am I kind of in line?
Yep.
Okay.
I hope the deed allows for it.
Do you feel the words were against it?
The sentence that reads, "The town shall prohibit the use of motorized vehicles, all-terrain vehicles, snowmobiles and motorcycles, or the like, unless necessary for maintenance, police, or emergency purposes.
Okay, yep. There's a long trail with a boat in your back,
Oh.
Yeah, I would say a truck with a boat in the back's a
a motorized vehicle.
motorized
Yep.
vehicle.
Certainly there, trying to get across that, trying to get down that far corner.
But I don't know what, a parking lot along the road and a trail to get down there. I don't know how far people will carry their,
Well, was this intended to stop the use of those types of vehicles on a regular basis on there for just riding around? Or was it a prohibition from accessing the property or the river?
but unless necessary for maintenance, police, or emergency purposes.
Gotta get my canoe in the water.
Yeah, I was looking at that as, motor vehicles as being like four-wheel motor vehicles or motorcycles or,
People using that property as an ATV park.
yeah.
That's how I read it, but Matt, you bring up a good point. I mean, it says no motorized vehicles. It doesn't say,
Well, we can have the town attorney take a look at it and tell us what he thinks it means in the context of
Right.
the entire deed.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because even.
Because I'd see it the same way, okay? I see it as,
Yeah,
they're not down there for recreational uses. If you're taking a vehicle in to drop something off and coming back out and parking it someplace, I don't think it's prohibited in there, but as
Well,
you-
what about having a parking lot down there?
I see it the same way,
Okay.
okay? You're not,
Yeah. Because
No.
you're
it's not like the issues you have in Greater Woods, or have had in Greater Woods, where you have ATVs running around in there, or other places in town that have access to the water, where you're running all kinds of four-wheel drive vehicles around in there and just tearing the properties up. I think that's what, the way I read it, that's what they're trying to.
Yep.
I believe think that would be the intent. Drive in, drop something off. If they're not gonna severely impact the property, I'm not saying that's never gonna be impacted, but if you're not gonna severely impact it, I don't see the issue, but we'll check it out.
Right. Yeah, I kind of envisioned a 20 to 24-foot wide access to a parking lot somewhere closer to the river. And then by the river, there would be picnic tables, probably a kiosk for information, an area where fisher people could enjoy that sport as well, and in a place to pull in and out a kayak, but not to back a trailer into the water. I don't see
No.
that happening. No, we would structure it
Car top.
stairs, right, car top. Something similar to what's right near the school, Souhegan School. That's a set of stairs. I know that was redone recently. I haven't seen it since it's been redone, but that I thought was done very well, the way they set that up. So you could two people could easily bring in or one person, depending on their physical ability, could easily bring in a canoe or a kayak and take it in and out. So.
you're trying to get a trail in there from the road, the existing road. You're talking, 800,000 feet.
Right, it's going to be a
That's
distance.
that's a long way to, schlep a canoe or
Right.
kayak or whatever you're trying to do through a trail.
Used to be called a portage.
Portage, yeah. So it would be similar to the one that's near the golf course on the Souhegan River by Amherst Country Club. There's one that you have to drive in. It's probably 800 feet long that you have to drive in and park in the woods. Yes, if you look closely, you can see the cars from 122, but we wouldn't have that same vantage point here probably from Amherst Road. But
No, it's
yeah,
you're
yeah,
100 feet elevation change.
right, yeah.
So
So do we want to separate the two projects? Is that easier? Or if you thought there was commitment that we were going to do one, would you structure your other one differently? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to money, and where do you
Right.
want to spend your money? So,
And certainly, I think combining the projects is the most economical way to do the project. And, from our standpoint, we get our marching orders from the town council and town manager, And if Fields Farm is not part of it, then our focus is just on the existing canoe launch, because that's what we have to fix. If we open it up, then we can spread our resources around a little bit and try and work it from a combined standpoint.
Yeah.
And I guess that'll ask the next question of going forward, do we meet here in this kind of forum to go over details and progress, or will somebody from the commission be appointed to work with Public Works and Parks and Rec on the project?
Yeah.
As kind of a subcommittee kind of thing?
I would envision that to be an appointment to make sure that this can go on its own pace, not have to wait for every other week or whatever when we get here.
Yeah. And we may want to consider a forestry project in there while we're there.
Sure.
Do some thinning and stuff like that. Not something that's going to create revenue, but something that will hopefully be revenue neutral by the time we're all done. You know,
Yep.
do some cleanup in there, because it has not been well maintained lately, so there's a lot of down trees and limbs.
Because that could definitely start the part of the access road too. If we can pick a line through that gets us down to the water in
Right.
a good spot,
Yeah.
then that would certainly be the landing zone and the road down.
Can I ask Matt to join the conversation for
Yeah.
a minute? So Matt, now I'm only one member of the commission, but I kind of view this as more of a recreation spot than a conservation spot, you might say. Kind of a partnership, similar to what we do with Wasserman in some ways, but not. Is having another park something that falls in your overall plan or aligns in some way, or could be, down the road?
Yeah, I think it could definitely fit into kind of the overall plan. We've been obviously heavily focused at Wasserman for a couple of years now, but we are starting to kind of work our way outward. And, anytime we can improve water access, especially with the ones that we have already are not great, if we can find a better way to do that, then I think that's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Because I ask, because this is not strictly a conservation property, which means I think at the end of the day, it would not be a primary property that we would most actively manage, you might say.
Okay.
So someone else would need to have that role.
Okay.
Or else it'll fall apart quickly. So I was just curious if that was something that you thought maybe in your long-term planning that could fit with your department and your need in what you do. So.
Yep, I think I could,
Have you
yes.
thought about other things to put in there also? Like bike trails or hiking trails?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it'd be nice to put in a trail that gets you far enough away from the river so you're not impacting the river, but close enough where you can enjoy the river. And there is some of that, but it hasn't been well maintained. Only the hunters maintain the trail system out there right now. So, yeah. And at some point we thought they might marry up with some land that we might get an easement or ownership of near where the development is going on as well. Because we know we know there's common land there that's going to fall under some sort of easement or ownership to the town. So that's another 20 acres, and all the frontage of that property along the river is going to fall to the town in some form, whether it's easement or ownership. That's not clear yet. So.
And that is very close to Indian Rocks.
Yeah,
And
Indian
it's
Ledges,
along it, yeah. It's along that section.
Yeah.
And there are also, when you look at a map and how that parcel connects up to Majian Road there, that's also potentially a good spot for access in there. Because that's where you have, some gentle slopes, or more gentle slopes than right off Amherst Road.
Yeah, I mean, we won't see athletic fields there, obviously. It's against the deed, and I'm not sure it lends itself well anyway, so, because of slopes and things like that, so. But I don't think it was ever envisioned to be, let's cut it into a bunch of little pieces and stuff like that. I think there was some naturalness that was intended to stay with it as well, so we'd have to find that balance, so.
But the short answer, yes, that's what we're trying to do with all the properties, is try to get people on them and enjoy them. So
Yeah.
whether it's a bike trail or walking trail, horse trail, whatever, it's trails.
Yeah. So, all right. So going forward, then.
do we need, I don't think we need to make a motion. I think we're all pretty much in agreement that we want to move forward on the Fields Farm, you know, trying to turn this into some type of access point. Secondary concern, obviously, being the existing access point. I'm most concerned about the slope stabilization. If we have the ability to make it, you know, continue to make it a good access point, and for people with, you know, parking on the road, that's great. I'm most concerned with this Fields Farm section now, initially. So I mean, that's going to be, I think, more of a budget item than anything else. Is that kind of in line with what you? I know you're okay. Okay.
To let you portage around in
There wouldn't be probably anything here, though.
the ledge. I do know how far.
You're talking about getting some sort of a
Right.
portage trail around
Indian ledges.
and I don't.
Speak up, Nelson.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, you.
I'm
That's,
just here for.
this is exactly why we all here, because we want to make sure that we're trying to capture everything now before we get going on
Back in the
the.
day when I was doing foolish things like that, we used to come down and then we'd portage around Indian Ledge when it was, the water wasn't right,
Mhm.
you know, and then put in again, and then you can go all the way to the town ball fields at Turkey Hill.
So you'd be
got flat water.
on the Tomasian side, on the Tomasian property?
Well, on the Tomasian side of the river,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
And that's
don't
where
think-
you've got some rights now, right, with the development that went on with Tomasian. They put a cluster development in there,
Right.
and there's the land along the river is all under your jurisdiction, or was going to be set up that way.
It's going to be set up that way. It's not there yet.
Not there
The
yet.
the developer hasn't turned the property over to us yet,
Okay,
because they're still utilizing the property for their own development needs.
yeah. But
So-
this down near their
They're
development.
not touching any of the river. You're right, they're not. But they,
Yeah.
but they, what they were gonna give us was somewhat of a U-shaped parcel. And they're using part of the U that's close to the road for their storage of material and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, long-term thinking.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right, right.
absolutely. Yeah.
But even at the end of the U that's along the river,
Yes,
it doesn't get you past Indian ledges.
doesn't,
No.
okay. Need a little more Tomasian sounds.
Yeah.
That's doable, you know, from a kayaker standpoint, that's not really that much of a problem.
Mhm.
If you were to go down there and you're, you know, just mom and dad and the dog and a canoe or something like that, then
Yeah.
you might get a little scared before you got to a place where you could portage.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can put up some signs, you know, if we put up a kiosk or something when we have
Mhm.
a designated access, then, you know, we can put information up on the kiosk.
Okay.
Right.
There's already information on our website, the Souhegan, if you go to Souhegan River,
Mhm.
there's a canoe guide there.
Okay. So going forward, would Kyle, you be the contact for the town? and-
Eventually, Dawn will be the contact.
Okay. Good. You're gonna volunteer because she's not here.
That's right. Short straw.
Isn't that why you hired her?
Exactly.
Boy.
Yeah, the reason I came tonight is because I was in the meetings with George and Tim this spring.
Yep.
And just to keep the ball rolling.
And we'll have to figure out who here is gonna be the contact on this side, but, do you guys, gentlemen, have anything more to add? No?
Do we want to do that now, or do we want to let it?
We can. Does someone want to be our representative for Fields Farm Canoe Launch?
So what that means is, you know, getting at least some plans together, so if we wanted to make an ARM grant request, we'd be able to do that initially in March to get it on their books, and by the September of next year to have it at the point where it could be approved or disapproved, because that's how their cycle works. So,
Should we follow Kyle's lead and
Yeah.
pick Mike?
Pick Mike, yeah, Mike's not here.
Well, between Mike and I, we seem to have won the grant, so I guess I'll take it, but I know I'm gonna have a lot of questions, so.
Well,
If you,
you understand you're not alone, right? We're all here. We'll all support when we can.
yeah,
And you can certainly call us anytime, Gina.
yeah, I'm happy to help, but I can't make a commitment for the next couple of months. I've got some other things going on, so I can't add to my plate. But once that's past me, then I can be much more active with this, so.
And really, from our standpoint, until we get the blessing of the town council and planning board, it's really not a project for us. So probably November, December timeframe is when we'll have a better sense of where we're going with the project.
It's 15 days from now.
Oh, yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All yours.
Thanks.
I'll leave this map here too, with
Okay,
just showing
great.
the area that would be okay,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yep.
better still, the edges. Don't go beyond that point, whatever.
Gina, why don't you let me have that so I can have a copy made and have it entered in the minutes.
Hey, Matt, just sign in.
Yeah, Matt, before you sign, I'll just make sure you sign in. All right,
Thank you very
great.
much.
Thank you guys for coming. I really
Thanks.
appreciate it. Thank you, Gina.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing.
That's all right.
This is when my poor husband ends up getting it.
Tommy, can you take that to the town attorney and have them? Okay, thank you. Yeah, before we get too deep in this, I want to make sure we're truly able to go in that direction.
No, I think if you, see, the other thing is, when you're looking at that, go down to the next paragraph. Okay, for additional
Yep.
context. Because down there it says,
Thank you.
all reasonable efforts to preserve and respect privacy of abutters, including locating parking areas as far as reasonably possible away from abutters,
Right.
taking into consideration the land's topography, terrain, and other natural characteristics. So I think
Yep.
there's a recognition that
That
parking issues are things that, to get access to it, you gotta, the common wisdom is that you need a place to park. And so they're trying to make a reasonable provision for that. And so in the context of the whole thing, I think it's okay, but we'll check it.
Okay. Great. All right, so moving forward, Michael Powers from Bay State Forestry. We're gonna, would you come on up, Mike? All right. We have some new legislation regarding town forest, tree farms, and a lot of our properties are fall into that jurisdiction. So Mike's here to explain to us what we need to be doing now.
Signing in here.
That's all right, thank you. We're gonna.
It's good to see everybody again. It's been a little while, so nice to check in. And so I think a while back I had contacted Tim to talk about the tree farm program, and the town of Merrimack's town forests have been enrolled in the tree farm program. Dan Sear did that. I think I'm not exactly sure when he did it. It was probably back in the early '90s or something like that. And so every 6 years or so, as part of the program, there's a periodic inspection that has to be done on the town properties in order to stay enrolled in the program. And Tree Farm has kind of changed over the years. It began as kind of a recognition program that private landowners and municipalities enrolled in. You have to have 10 acres or greater to get into the program, but it was just basically a recognition program to kind of
Really the right way to spell it.
to show that you were, doing good forest stewardship on your property, you're managing for the long term, and the that little or facets of Tree Farm. It's since morphed into a certification program. And what that means is it's a third party certified program. So it's a green certified kind of program. So what that means is every so often, every I think 4 to 5 years or so, New Hampshire Tree Farm gets audited by a third party, and it was, I think the last one was in 2014. It was done by PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they pick about 25 or so tree farms in the state, and basically go through all the paperwork, the forest management plans, the inspection forms, and then they actually do a site visit and a field visit out in the woods, and kind of look at what kind of management's been going on the property, and is the management that's happening on the property what's being written in the management plan. In other words, is the management following what's happening or what's being written down in the plan?
Those inspections include, like, our local forest. If they came to do our property, would they include you in that inspection?
Yes, yeah, as your tree
They're not
farm
gonna be out there walking on their own. They're
No,
gonna-
no. As your tree farm inspector, so I'm a licensed forester and a tree farm inspector. I would be involved with that process. And this is an actual inspection form. Maybe I can pass that around for you to take a look at it. So this is the 004 form. This is the inspection form that needs to be completed every 6 years. And so that's
That's now for each separate piece of property. Now.
Right. Well, as I explained, so again, kind of going back, the tree farm used to be you could do one of these for all your properties. Now they've broken it out. So if you have separate properties that are not contiguous, you have to do one of these forms for each property now, which kind of obviously creates a little bit more paperwork and headaches and that sort of thing. So. So it looks like the Schuyler lot, Mast Road, Greater Woods, Wildcat Falls, Gilmore Hill, and Horse Hill Nature Preserve are all properties that were kind of enrolled in the program, and those would be the properties that would need to be inspected, and these forms would have to be filled out for each of those properties. And getting back to that audit, New Hampshire just had an audit back in 2014. The southern counties were audited. They picked 25 properties in the southern counties. The next audit will be in another 4 or 5 years, but they'll audit the northern counties, so probably north of the Lakes region. So realistically, southern New Hampshire, your properties probably wouldn't be audited for another, 8 years or something like that. And even if you're audited, or even when the southern counties get audited, it doesn't necessarily mean that any of the Merrimack properties will be audited. There's like 1,400 tree farms in New Hampshire, and they pick 25 or 30 or something like that. So there's a good chance your property wouldn't even be audited in that next go around. It'll be audited sometime down the road, but who knows, 15, 20 years, something like that. So
In particular, with like Greater Woods, I think is a good example. It's one line on Greater Woods. It's changed dramatically since 2010, this is the date on this document. So does that mean that every time we add a parcel to Greater Woods, it's now automatically a tree farm?
Yeah, it could be, but and all we need to do is in that particular management plan for Greater Woods, all we have to do would like some sort of addendum or something.
Add it to the management plan.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
now-
just-
now it's- okay.
Just do an addendum, add it, and then when the inspection comes around again, you can just note that on the inspection that there was a 30-acre parcel was added or something was subtracted or something like that. So it's relatively, it's not real rigid. You can add and subtract things, and you can write notes in your plan to and that's all good. The inspectors or the auditors, I mean, when they look at that stuff, that's fine with them. They don't, it's not a real, rigid type program. So, so on this inspection, the first thing that you note these are all the tree farm standards on pages 2 to 4. And the first standard is the landowner has and implements a written forest management plan consistent with the size of the forest and the scale and intensity of the forest activity. So basically it's saying that, you want to keep your plans pretty much up to date and relative. And so usually we look at, a 10 to 15 year window where we kind of consider a plan is, and like you say, Greater Woods, there's been a lot that's gone on out there. So you want to make sure and keep those plans updated and stuff. If you want to, nothing says you have to stay in the tree farm program either. There's no, that's completely up to you folks. But I was just here to give you some information on the program and
What's the
answer
advantage?
any questions.
What's the advantage to you being in the tree farm?
There's not a lot of advantage to if you're a private landowner and you own 40 or 50 acres of land, and it's just a nice thing to, you have a nice sign.
Other than the tax liability, that's about it.
Well, if you're a town and you have town forest and you're harvesting products off your town forest, it's kind of nice to be able to let folks in the town know that, hey, our properties are green certified through Tree Farm, through the Tree Farm system, and we're kind of adhering to these standards, and we're managing our property in a responsible way, and there's the potential for a third-party audit to happen at some point to make sure that we're managing our forests in a responsible and long-term sound.
Just in case
sound way.
anyone's listening, it's we're also I know there's a lot of buyers out there, lumber buyers, that are only buying from tree farms, certified tree farms. So I know, like Home Depot, I think, is only all their wood is from certified tree farms.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of in terms of.
No, it's just that's the only place the buyers are coming from.
Oh yeah, no, that's
Some of
true.
them. I mean, that's
true.
Interesting.
We haven't seen sawmills pay. We haven't seen a lot of price increases for certified wood, but we have seen an increased market for that wood. In other words, they do want to buy wood that's been certified off of tree farms. They're not necessarily paying more for it, but they will still give you preference. In other words, they want to buy your wood before they want to buy the wood from some guy down the road that just is cutting trees down on his property. So
They're not going to go without.
right, we have seen that. So there are a few benefits when it comes to markets and stuff too. So
Does the private homeowner fall into the same guise as?
yes, yep, it's the same type process. Yep.
Uh-oh.
And the standards change about every 5 years or so with Tree Farm too, so they're always kind of changing the standards and stuff too. So it's going to get a little confusing.
So I'm looking at this and I'm going, what's my return on investment?
Right.
Because to update the plans is an investment, whether it's
Mm.
paying you or someone else to do it,
Yep.
whether it's our time to do it, and leaving ourselves susceptible to auditing, and which could be another impact and things like that. Where do I, as a tree farm owner, see that return on investment?
Well, that's a good question. I think that would be something you folks would need to discuss, and there's there's no timeline or deadline saying that, you know, all right, this particular plan is 12 years old, and you know we need to redo this plan by next year. It's not really like that. It's more of, all right, you have plans that are well over 10 years old. They're closing in on 15 years old. You may want to think over the next 4 or 5 years, updating some of these plans in case there is an audit in the southern counties, and you get, you know, you get picked for that audit. You want to have your plans and that sort of thing updated. But again, that's only if you want to stay in the program.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, is it worth the energy to stay in the program?
Right.
I mean, we fail an audit, what happens?
Well, you wouldn't. We would make sure.
Well, no, but I mean, so we have to take the sign down. I mean, what?
Right.
What's the penalty?
You would essentially be knocked down to what's called a pioneer status in tree farm. So you wouldn't be an official tree farm anymore. You would be pioneer, and until you brought, like, you know, the standards, or until you brought your standards up to where they should be, then you wouldn't be considered an official tree farm. So.
Right.
But it's not like they're going to fine you, you know, or anything
Right.
like
Well,
that.
I guess that's the question.
I'm trying to figure out, obviously, Andy and Dan thought there was value in doing this.
Yeah.
You did name off in the form, it talks about a bunch of properties that aren't technically Conservation Commission properties, they're town-owned properties.
Yep.
So, so really it's, I mean, the town council could weigh in on this too if they really wanted to, but I wish I understood the value they saw, because there was considerable effort that went into getting to the point where we are today.
Right.
And I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that we get a special deal on a membership anywhere. We get special pricing.
No. No.
I think we do
No,
a
the-
reasonable job of managing. You know, I can be sarcastic as well, and Mike, let me be sarcastic for a moment. I wonder if this was put together by lumber yards and foresters in order to create a revenue stream
Right.
for
Right.
them.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
from off the backs of tree farmers. So,
Right. Right.
Right. So.
Yeah, no, and again, there's nothing saying that you need to stay in the program. You're certainly welcome to leave it. The only benefit I really see out of it is that it is a third-party certified program, and that when you harvest products off of, you know, town-owned land, that you can say, hey, we're, you know, you can talk all you want about, say, we ran responsibly and stuff, but when you have someone backing you, and you can say that, hey, this is third-party certified, there is an outside entity coming in and saying that we are managing our forests responsibly, and we're keeping all of our plans and that sort of thing up to date. That to me is about the only benefit for a town. We have a lot of private landowners that are in the program. They're in it because they've been in it forever.
Can you put your land in current use if you're not a tree farm?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
No? Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you definitely can. Yeah, you don't have to be in tree farm. You can if you're in tree farm, if you're a certified tree farm, then at that point you automatically qualify for the stewardship category of current use.
Okay.
But you don't have to be a tree farm to qualify for the stewardship category of current use.
To address your query to the town council. Again, speaking as one of 7, I used to have this discussion with my bosses and the board of directors when we were going for a certification with the International Association for Continuing Education and Training. What does it get us? Okay, and what it gets us is it keeps us focused on what we wanted to do with our training programs. And it also had a review that was conducted every 5 years to come in and make sure that our programs were developed and presented and records kept in such a meaningful way for people who attended our training programs, because a lot of them depended on there are so many continuing ed requirements now for municipal employees at all levels that we felt that we needed to provide something that was usable for them in that regard. The other thing was about 10 or 12 years ago, when this was all a rage, okay, all the hot topic about branding. And they were talking about, while it's not quite the same thing as you would have in the private sector, there's a bit of that going on in the public sector. And one of the things that that they urged people to do was to get certifications, because then there's somebody else looking at what you're doing and how you're doing it, and you're just not making it up as you go along, okay? So that's part of the issue. From my perspective, and having served on this commission over a few years, it encourages you to keep your plans up to date, okay? And it also provides you with the ability to go back to the town council or to the public and say, hey, look, the reason why we're doing this or why we're asking for this appropriation is because these are the things that we're doing with it. And here's how it fits into the overall plan that we have for the organization and the properties that we manage. So those are, like I said, off the top of my head and from my personal perspective, one of the things that you get out of it. Okay, you sort of sit there and you go, and I'm not trying to push you one way or the other, but I'm sure you thought of all that.
Yeah, it is validation that we're doing what we say we're going to do,
Right.
and what we were entrusted to do. I get that. I just wanted to see if there was something even more compelling. So,
So you had a question about the Mitchell Woods.
I know you've been looking at a little bit to potentially do a forestry project in there. I think this might be a decent time where I know it's not really the tree farm subject, but we have, we just, I don't know, say we didn't approve, but we just agreed to the deed for Mitchell Woods for the town to go forth, and they're looking at putting a well out there.
Oh, right, yeah.
So how does that, if it's a tree farm, I mean, how does it impact, if we're going to put a structure out there, I mean, does that change anything? Does it?
Well, so the Mitchell Woods, there's, what is it? It's that's off of Mitchell Street.
Yeah, Watkins Forest, Mitchell Woods.
The Watkins Forest, right? Yeah. Okay. So that I did a plan on that property. They were in the same boat. Their tree farm. They were due for a tree farm inspection this year, and so I did the inspection for them. I updated their plans, and we talked a little bit about the well, but I haven't really been in touch with anybody since. So I mean, I'm not sure what kind of size structure you're looking at. It wouldn't affect your tree farm status. You'd still, the property needs to be at least 10 acres in size.
Right.
So as long as you're not, as long as you still get at least 10 acres of forest land out there, that's not a problem. Again, you would just do an amendment to your plan and just write down, you've taken an acre out for this structure and surrounding curtilage or whatever.
Simple and easy, just attaching the deed?
I would think so.
Well, the easement and the deed, yeah. I mean, it's, right, okay.
Yeah, so it wouldn't affect your tree farm status out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So going forward, what do we need to do then? Because we obviously have some parcels on there that we need to address.
Yeah. So you have an inspection that's due this year. They give you a 1 year leeway. So basically, I think we would have until, I think it's like September, October of next year to get the inspection done before they say, hey, look at, we've given you a year to do this. We're going to put you into that pioneer category until you decide that you want to, if you do, either do it or don't do it. Yeah. And then if you want to do it down the road, further down the road, update everything. And you wouldn't have to, it's not like if we do these plans, say, again, if, say, there's a particular parcel that we look at and we say, you know, okay, this plan it was done 13 or 14 years ago. The plan's a little bit out of date. There's been 2 timber harvests that have taken place. There's, you know, the forest is quite different than what it was when the original plan was written. We can say, look at where we realize the plan needs to be updated. We can go ahead and do the inspection and just put a note and say plan will be updated within the next 3 to 5 years or something like that. That's allowable. That's fine. It's just that if and when there is an audit and they pick that property, you know, and they look at the paperwork and say, well, you're supposed to update the plan back in 2018 or 2019. You still haven't done that yet. What's going on? You know, that's when there would be some issues. But again, you're talking about some fairly long time frames. It's nothing that, again, needs to be done next year or even the year after or anything like that. Just over the course of, you know, a few years, you want to make sure that. So it's just.
I was going to say, should we authorize Mike to proceed with an assessment of where we are
Yeah.
and what the gap is to where we need to be, and provide us an estimate as to what it's going to take to bridge that gap
Yeah.
and put us in compliance?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because honestly, I haven't really even looked through all these plans to see where they're at. Some of them might be fine.
Yeah.
Some of them may just be a little bit out of date, and then there might be a few that are way out of date that we say, ooh, these, you know, we really might want to take a look at these, and you know.
Yeah, and give us an estimate of what you think it's going to take to
Yeah.
fix them as well. So
Yeah.
that way we can meet one more time and decide what we want to do
Yeah,
with
sure.
real numbers as opposed to, you know what I mean?
Yep,
Makes
absolutely.
sense?
Absolutely.
So essentially, I move that we authorize expending whatever dollars necessary from Mike to do the assessment of our status and provide us an estimate of what it's going to take to put us in full compliance.
Second.
Yeah, I mean, probably a couple hours or something. I probably wouldn't even need to charge for, you know, it would just be going through some folders and stuff and looking
like
and
free.
see what, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, all right. Yeah, all right,
Yeah.
but with Matt brought up not to exceed $200,
Yeah.
okay?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, that passes.
So,
What do we here? 5-0, 6-0-0. right?
600.
0-0. Tough to do that mental math with these lights on.
Yeah, I know.
Can't see anybody. Like a rock star.
Well, they can't accuse you of operating in the dark anymore.
Thanks.
Good.
Which one was it, Mike, that is, you feel past due? Skylar lot?
You know, that's one that I'm not really familiar with, the Schuyler lot. I know, you know, Greater Woods I'm pretty familiar with, Wildcat Falls, and then Horse Hill. But that's one I'd have to look up because I'm really not even familiar with that one.
Isn't there a sign on the Timmins property?
A tree farm sign?
Yeah.
Could be.
Right there in the corner of South Babusick Lake Road and Babusick Lake Road going down that L.
That's school district
Timmins is
property.
a school district.
Oh, it's a
yeah,
school district.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know when their audits do.
All right.
So realize we've changed Greater Woods since you've spent any real time on that property.
I'm sorry.
We've purchased more parcels to
Oh,
Greater Woods.
okay.
We've purchased 3 more in the last year and a half,
Okay.
and we're negotiating on 3 others.
Wow.
2 others, sorry. Well, negotiation is probably not the right word. There's a development that's planned to go in there, and as soon as they complete that process, they have to turn over 2 parcels to us.
Okay.
So we've added 100 acres
Oh wow.
a year and a half ago.
Great.
Year and a half? 2?
Yeah.
Something like that. And we're, no, maybe a year ago now, sorry.
Last fall.
Yeah,
Was it?
last fall, yeah. So, and we're gonna probably pick up another 100 acres
Oh,
shortly.
great.
So,
Oh, good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
so,
I haven't been out there for a while, so yeah.
so just be aware of that. So.
Okay. Yep. It's good to know.
And I can provide more details if you need to know that when you get to that point. So.
Okay. Yeah, so that would be one.
Gage
that-
Yeah, we can-
Or Gage could, or whatever, yeah.
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 Sure. So if you wanted to add those parcels into the program or lump them into, that would
I guess that was my question, because I mean, we're now considering them part of Greater Woods, and we say Greater Woods is a tree farm, so.
Right, yeah.
So by default, are those
Yeah.
new parcels now tree farms?
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that could become part of the gap that we
Okay.
need to fill,
Yep,
right?
yep, yeah, definitely.
And the previous owner did do some forestry within the last 5 years,
Oh, okay. Okay.
quite horribly.
Yeah,
I might add.
it's a great job.
Yeah, oh, Jesus. Yeah, well, maybe we can fix that at some point. Yeah.
Okay. You guys have any more questions? Anyone? Mike, you?
I'm good. Did you have any, I know on one of your emails you were asking about maybe some clearing costs or that sort of, or does that?
Yeah,
not-
that's for a different committee.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I just had it was one email. I figured I could just stay in kind of insane.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I'll be in touch with you
Sure,
about that.
yeah, no problem. Yep,
Thank you.
all right.
Thanks.
Good
Thanks,
to
Mike.
see you again.
Thank you.
See you, yeah.
All right, moving on to statutory advisory business. TF Moran and Franklin Savings Bank. KRG Merrimack Village. We have, you guys ready to go?
I don't know if everyone has plans, but I brought a board so we
Yep, we should have had plans. If you may have, might be easier to read.
board, and if you need to refer to it, I can set it up.
We can try going from here unless you start referencing something we don't have. Well, I think this is a pretty thick package. I think we got the whole thing. If you wouldn't mind just signing in real quick so we have your name and your spelling correct.
My name is Jason Hill. I'm a civil engineer, project manager at TF Moran Engineering in Bedford, New Hampshire. And I'm here tonight representing Franklin Savings Bank on a proposed branch bank project located at Dobson Way, across from it would be a convenient MD and retail development, the most recent of which was the convenient MD site. And this project is, we're going before the planning board on November 1st, seeking just a conditional or an approval for the project for these site plans. The project is in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District. For those reasons, among others, I'm just here to talk about the project with you, and I'm looking to have a recommendation for the board on November 1st with this site plan. There's no other districts on this property. There's no wetlands on the property. We've mapped the wetlands to certify that there's no wetlands on the property. The property is not in any other jurisdiction or protected overlay districts. And the basic project is to construct it's a vacant parcel which was slated for development when in 2004 plus or minus that time frame, the overall area under common ownership was developed as basically a mixed use retail development, commercial retail, and they built a private road called Dobson Way to provide access to these lots, reserving this piece for development. It's a small piece. The size of the lot is roughly an acre, 9/10 of an acre.
It's been cleared. There's a detention pond on the site which provides some water quality treatment and detention for the existing retail in the Shaw's Center, stuff like that. That was built in 2000 and that was associated with the 2004 development. We're proposing a 2,161 square foot, that's the footprint area, branch bank for Franklin Savings Bank. It's a single-story facility with 2 drive-through lanes, 19 parking spaces, 2 single handicap parking space, and the associated improvements: sewer, water, fire, drainage, natural gas service connection, and then power and telecommunications. Part of the parking area will part of the visitor the employee parking, which is located on the left side. It's the angled parking spaces. Occupies a portion of the existing detention facility. We have modeled, analyzed that detention facility. We have determined that the capacity which was constructed exceeds its original design capacity, and we're also proposing additional stormwater storage capacity for this new development for treatment. These 3 things will enable us to reduce the flow leaving to the existing sewer storm drain system. We will be proposing to put in catch basins to trap some of the water from this small parking lot, and we have specified some couple of things for BMP's deep sump catch basins with oil, gas trapping hood devices to prevent the gas, petroleum products from getting into the stormwater system. It's a pre-treatment practice. And so we will be pre-treating those pollutants that way, and then your sediments and things like that, those will be, this is a StormTech underground chamber system, typical commercial installations, very straightforward. Isolator row with, as another pre-treatment practice, which is basically, it has access on either side of it. It's a single, it's a series of chambers. They're about the size of this table, and so there's fabric around it, and there's inspection and access ports on each side, so you can get a hose truck like Belmore could come in and clean out the sediment when it accumulates. That is pre-treatment. And the primary is exfiltration of the water quality volume. Larger storms build up and overflow into the existing detention pond. This system reduces the peak rate of runoff leaving the property and promotes recharge into the ground by the exfiltration. We have tested the soils with a it's a Guelph permeability, I don't do the testing myself, but it's a Guelph permeameter device to understand what the rate of infiltration of these soils is. Which is actually slower than I thought, but it's fast. It's sand out here, and when you get certain sand, it's too fast, and you will need to amend it to slow it down so it traps some of the pollutants, phosphates, phosphorus, things like that, if it's too fast. This is not the case with this site. It's about right. It's 10 inches per hour. You put a factor on it, and we've designed it accordingly, so it has a good natural permeability for treatment. And that's the drainage. And then the other key aspects of the project are there's some snow storage sites on this project, on the area around the perimeter. It's a small site. We have areas where we can store snow when it's plowed. We have if the snow gets too, if we run out of room in a tough winter for snow storage, they would be required to remove that that snow and dispose of it and put it in a location where it would meet the state requirements for where you're disposing of that snow with salts and things like that in it. So we have identified areas on the site where there's suitable areas for snow storage, and I'll be done in a second here. But there's a log that we have embedded into this report. This is the stormwater report, and it's got to be kept by the owner, and they have to track the maintenance practices that they are doing to the stormwater system. And so as a part of this report, which we commonly do as a best management practice, we have a log which requires whoever's maintaining the site to track the amount of chemicals and salt that they're using. So it's in a log format, and it's just a maintenance record. So that's, the project in a nutshell, and I'm here to answer any questions.
I know you got something.
Sure. So some normal stuff that we always look for when we look at a set of plans, and I'm not sure we've looked at a set of plans from your firm, and if we have, it's been quite some time. So there's some standouts that we're going to ask you to change, and we'll recommend the planning board do the same.
Okay.
Since they're the enforcement, we're only provide a recommendation.
Sure.
So I see the word hay. Hay is a bad word. It's a 3-letter, 4-letter word, and we prefer a 5-letter word called straw.
Okay.
So wherever you use the word hay, please change that to straw.
Sure.
Just one of those things. It's a Merrimack thing. So.
No, that's fine.
So that's one of them. I don't see anywhere in the plans, and maybe I missed it, where you actually speak to how you're going to manage ice, de-icing, whether it's the use of salt or de-icing compounds or sand or whatever. Did I miss that, or is that not addressed in the set of plans?
I don't believe we put specifications on the plans for that component, but I do know that we have a log which is tracking the use of those chemicals. It's usually going to be, I would think, rock salt for the most part that they put down, and there'll be some de-icing chemicals, but we will, I think we could specify a couple of BMPs that would relate to how those would be required to be managed at the facility.
So one of our other hot buttons is de-icing compounds and salt use. Except for some properties along our southern border, all Merrimack water comes from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So we're very sensitive to the use of those kinds of chemicals. Unless there's a compelling reason, we would actually suggest that this site not utilize salt and de-icing compounds unless there's a compelling reason to utilize.
Well, I think
them.
that we can consider that, although I know that usually with these type of developments, there's a concern over liability for slips and falls and things like that. So I would.
So how we mitigate that is we suggest people utilize Green Snow Pro certified snow removal and stuff like that. So there's a whole certification system that's done through UNH. I don't know if you've heard of the Green Snow Pro program.
I have not.
All right, so it's something you may want to look at for your clients, but it's a certification process where contractors who do snow removal and stuff like that can go through it, and they learn how to properly apply sands, salts, de-icing compounds, and if they follow what they've learned, it actually minimizes the liability that the property owner has for slips, trips, falls, things that can happen because of ice and snow and things like that. So it's a win-win. It's set up with the legislature by state law to limit liabilities as long as you follow the process and you utilize certified contractors to do that work. So typically what we do
Something
then.
we could look into, certainly.
Yeah, so one of our typical recommendations is to recommend that the owner of the person responsible for snow removal and de-icing follows a Green Snow Pro certified program.
Okay, well, I will take that into consideration and do some research, and we'll definitely be prepared to talk about it, so.
So another one of our hot buttons is fertilizer. So I noticed fertilizer is addressed in a number of different places throughout the plans, sheets 9, 17, and probably others. So one of them, probably sheet 7, one of them stipulates an actual percentage, like a 10, 20, 20 mix.
9,
Sheet 9.
9, 8,
Yeah, so that
6. Right.
the number in the middle when you do those is phosphates, and we would really like to see no use or very limited use of, so what we normally suggest for fertilizer notes in plants is a slow release nitrogen, low or no phosphate depending on the location fertilizer be utilized.
Yeah, we'll run that. I
Yeah.
understand the concern and what the intent is, and I will make sure that I think we could design the landscaping, and I'm not a landscape architect,
Mhm.
but we have one, that would ensure that if we were to reduce the loading to it, that we'd have plants that could survive
Yeah.
accordingly.
Yeah, so, and that's great, because the other recommendation we make is that that people actually test their soils before they actually apply fertilizer, because you may find that the soil has got all the right amenities to it that would support the landscaping that's desired.
Okay.
And just adding fertilizer for the sake that that's something that we always do, we always throw out a 10-10-10 or something like that, you're just wasting your money, likely, as well as you could be endangering the environment around you. So this site isn't nearly as sensitive. You're not like next to a river or a large wetland structure where phosphates could cause the bad things that can grow because of it and stuff like that. But
And I do think, and I didn't state this, but I did want to, is that this site, the use of this site for a bank is probably the best use we could be putting on this in terms of a clean use.
Mhm.
From a pollutant generating.
Right, understood. Yeah,
things.
right. You
We do want to work, obviously, with the town and everyone
Yeah.
to ensure that everyone's on the same page and we're
Yeah.
being, responsive to the concerns and
Yeah.
groups and
Yeah, and we're not trying to make it hard for your clients to do business here either, so,
appreciate that.
not our intent, so. So the only other thing is I noticed there's a typo in there. You refer to the Merrimack Village Department, it's really the Merrimack Village District. That's on
the
sheet
water
6.
company.
Yeah, the water company. It's actually a village district by state law, so, or a state-created mechanism, so
We'll
it's a
fix
separate
it.
entity, anyway. It's a separate legal entity from the town. So it's not a department of the town, it's a separate legal entity, yeah, besides that, it's a pretty straightforward project for a very small parcel, so.
One more, I don't want to say warning, one more item of caution that we'd like to address too is in your landscape plan, please make sure you're using native plants, no ornamentals that are invasive or exotics. We like to have natural, local plants.
Okay, drought tolerant.
Drought tolerant, yeah, but we don't want to be the one introducing the next invasive.
Another part of our stormwater management report it talks about invasive species management because you get that knotweed stuff that
Right.
comes up a lot of projects, and it's just, we address that, basically by, you have to maintain this is a living document, but we are speaking to the recognition to the facilities manager of when you see, if this site is a underground system, but we're gonna dig a little bit to build the parking, just that looks at
Right.
if you identify knotweed or barberry, any invasive that you need to be on top of getting rid of it in the proper manner while you can, because the more that stuff gets
Right.
up quick and then it's nasty.
Yeah, we know.
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
All right, well,
I appreciate you guys taking a quick look at this too, in terms of I was able to, I put the plans together in a quick manner, and I was lucky enough to hear me tonight on the agenda and after relatively short notice.
great. Anyone has any questions? No? All right, we will get a letter off to the planning board. Obviously, we're going to highlight those items of concern
Yep.
and we'll, you'll be in front of them on the 1st. You said November 1st?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
We just found another dock in the box.
They're popping up, aren't they? What are you looking at, Matt? All right. Everyone good? Keep going? All right. Old business. The NHACC, we've requested a check for the three of us. Cindy, myself, and Mike will be attending. That's it. We're going. So moving on to new business. The Horse Hill Nature Preserve. Got a couple. I don't want a new trail discussion. There's really a single. There is a new trail, but there's also an existing trail that needs some attention too. So this is since morphed a bit since we once we put it on the plan, but I think we can cover both of them in one discussion. Just for the record, we went and walked that the other day. A couple members of the Horse Hill Committee and ourselves, two members from this committee. I think it's safe to say that recognize the existing trail, the main trail, is well used, and it needs some attention. And that's the purpose of this bypass trail, is to look to get away from the existing trail. There is some concern. Deb raised some concern. The initial section of that trail does move towards Long Pond on a brief detour. So I've contacted our wetlands biologist. Wildlife biologist. He's gonna, at some point in time when we can get together, he's going to go out and take a look at that and see if it's an area we need to be concerned about, and that may change the start of that trail to some degree. But I think overall we were feeling pretty comfortable with the trail. There's trying to minimize some of the turns, the angle of some of the turns and some of the switchbacks on there. So it was overall a good walk. So.
Okay, so I think Gage covered it basically. The Horse Hill Summit Trail has some erosion problems. We recognize that as a problem. Matt and Peter went out and did some mapping out there. We walked it with Peter. And as Gage mentioned, the only sort of point of contention is that the original trail, as they laid it out, had some loops that went near Long Pond. If you look at the handout that I just gave you, the top page, the blue circle shows the area of concern. And as you can see, that top page is from the definitive plan. As I'm sure all of you know, what we do on Horse Hill is dictated by these three plans. The town did an exhaustive amount of discussions about what the master plan said, what we want to happen out there. The ecological assessment told us where it could possibly happen out there. And then finally, the definitive plan says this is where it should happen out there. So whenever we have any discrepancy about anything, we turn to our plans, and they dictate pretty much everything we do out there within reason. Obviously, some things change over time. So the top page that I gave you is from the definitive plan, and you'll see that Long Pond is designated as a turtle nesting as well as beaver area. It is a sensitive wildlife area. And where the loops are, as you can see in that blue circle, anything to the right.
I'm sorry, real quick. Is that outlined the actual pond, or is that the riparian zone around it also?
It's the zone, as you can see from the green with black on it is the zone that they've identified as being turtle nesting and beaver areas. But obviously the pond changes. This year it's very
Well,
dry.
yeah, right, but
the
I'm saying,
pond is considerably
is that,
smaller.
Okay, so that's the not the wetland. That's not
No,
the water.
that's the area
around it. Okay.
designated as
All right.
the turtle area.
Thank you.
So as you can see, the gray line that sort of heads north, it heads up into my blue circle, that's the existing Horse Hill Summit Trail. And as it crosses over the top, it's rather eroded. Matt and Peter have laid out a trail to the right, to the east side. You know, that's fine. The problem are the two loops that go to the left, getting closer to Long Pond. We don't want any trails going that close to the turtle nesting area. We feel that that's not in keeping with what we were mandated by the plans. So the first page just shows you where we're talking about. The second page is from the ecological assessment, where it very clearly tells us to stay a minimum of 100 feet. More is preferable, especially in particularly sensitive areas. There's just no need to get that close to a sensitive area when you have the whole east side of the hill. You know, we don't have to end up where it ends up now. You've got an entire side of a hill to get down without getting near Long Pond. The third page is also from the ecological assessment, where it, it focuses on the fact that disruptions, increased recreational use causes disruptions, and we are told to stay away from sensitive habitats, particularly things like turtle nesting that happens May through July. That's a very long season, and we have. Don't forget, Horse Hill is not a park. We are not a recreational property. We are a nature preserve. And I didn't bother to Xerox for you because I didn't want to overwhelm you tonight, the list of our goals and priorities for that property. But it was not a park very intentionally. Human use is incidental out there. We want to accommodate as many people as we can, but we acknowledge that there's always a balance between human use and wildlife. And we are mandated to speak for the wildlife as well as for the humans. And so that's what Lynn and I are here to do today. And then the final page, and then I'll turn it over to Lynn, the final page I gave you is also from the definitive plan, and this is the map of the final definitive plan. As you can see there, the recreational properties are to your left, to the west. We try to keep most of our new trail development toward the west. The east is identified as more of our wildlife corridor and where we try and keep things more pristine so that wildlife, as more and more people go out there, wildlife have a place to go to. These trails are meh. They're marginal. They're right in the middle. They're not quite into our pristine area, but they're getting closer. So we really have to be careful what we do in that area of the property. We just don't want to overstep our bounds. When you have a whole side of a hill to get down, seriously, getting near Long Pond seems just silly, just not necessary. It's a 400-foot hill. We can get from here to there without getting near Long Pond. Other than that, it's important to get away from the Horse Hill Summit Trail is eroded. We need to get around it. I just don't feel that it's according to our plans. We are not mandated to get around it by getting near Long Pond. And if it had to, then I would close the trail. If there was no other way to get from here to there but to go next to Long Pond, then I'd say humans lose and we close the trail and we find another way to get from one side of the property to another. That would be a shame for someone like me who cuts across the middle of the property because I'm a little tired to do the whole 4-mile trail, quite frankly, and cutting right across the middle is very handy for someone of my abilities. So I would miss that trail, but I would give that up rather than encroach on turtle nesting because, we have to follow plans. We can't make the stuff up, really. We don't make the stuff up. There's a lot of literature to support the fact that we have to do what we were told to do. Now, Lynn, if you would like to talk a little bit about, I don't know what
Do
you
you-
brought.
Do you feel that the existing trail is well outside that 100-foot buffer? Or is it kind of close to that 100-foot buffer?
You know, I haven't measured the existing trail, and again, that depends on where the wetland goes and things, but it gets close, right in that beginning part where those
Right,
loops
well,
are.
that's-
I've never measured it, but the new loops do go significantly closer to the pond. I would rather see both of them go off to the
Well,
east, frankly.
All but one did, right? Just the beginning part.
It was
that-
just the two loops that go over toward, it goes loops, then it goes over here and does some loops, and then it goes one more loop over here toward Long Pond.
I didn't.
Is there a map of the new trail?
No.
We had one that we approved, when we walked out there with Peter, originally presented to us, and we walked it, and we said, except for the loops on the Long Pond side, it was fine, and Peter then redid the map to get rid of those loops on the Long Pond side. There were two at that time, perhaps you've changed it to just have one, but at the time we originally walked it with Peter, there were two.
Yeah, 'cause
And he got rid of
when we
them.
walked it the other day, we only walked on one section and then went across.
Okay. So maybe it has changed a little bit, and
Okay.
even Matt mentioned that something out even in the loop
Yeah,
part had changed from what you
Yeah, we
first
seemed up
laid out.
top.
So there is a map. I don't know if it's accurate with what's out there now, but he GPSed it as we walked around.
It is fairly well flagged, so you could go out there and walk it on your own if you wanted to. And I understand why they went towards the pond, and if it's truly within that 100-foot buffer zone, or if it's going to cause an impact on that 100-foot buffer zone, then we have to do something with that start point, because that's definitely a wet area,
We
wet
don't
section
have
right
to
there.
come up that, just because post 14 is where it is, and the trail is where it is, we don't have to stay there.
Well-
We can come farther down and come up elsewhere. It's a 400-foot hill. It's not
Yeah.
Kilimanjaro. We can find another way up, I'm sure. So, Lynn, did you have something you were going to show? I don't know what you brought her. Oh, I see.
I posted a few pictures. The wildlife out there is very well documented. I've worked with New Hampshire Department of Fish and Game and Audubon. And in fact, what Fish and Game, their term for encroachment that disturbs the wildlife is called human pressure. And it kind of shows up in various ways. But it's not even just, there's a couple of endangered, about 3 endangered wildlife that falls under the category of reptiles, but it's not just reptiles. What happens is during the summer, like immature bald eagles will stay there, and cormorants, and of course other ducks particularly will just drop by in the spring on their way north as the ice unfreezes. But an interesting thing that happened maybe 15 years ago, and this was slightly after this study was done for the definitive plan, is that it seems that the great blue herons that used to be at White Pine Swamp, someone went and damaged the dam on purpose and at White Pine Swamp because they thought they would prevent Nile virus. And so by draining that swamp, there wasn't enough water to nurture wildlife like fish and stuff that, the great blue herons want to eat. Not that they don't spread out. And so they wound up in Long Pond. And when I was walking at one time with Todd Cheswick, who is this area's fish and game officer, he said, "Oh, some osprey are going to probably move in," and they did. So it's quite a habitat, and we need to appreciate it, I think.
Yeah, it's an important habitat. And if human pressure, why? When you've got all this space, why do we have to go encroach on a pond? Seriously. It just doesn't seem
And we've already-
worth it.
Right, and we've already lost some wildlife. There's a green heron on the right side up there. I can see it very well. The American bittern has left the area. Otters, these are otters right here. And that's beaver. And at any rate, I haven't seen them. I think they came through last winter, but they didn't stick around. So it's just, here's some baby heron, baby great blue herons here. I'll leave this up. But anyway, that's the idea.
Am I correct in saying that the only issue that we have then, just at the very beginning of the trail, the rest of it seemed, I mean, I think up top there was, Peter felt that he could eliminate one of the extra loops.
Right, which would be nicer,
Which would be right.
yeah.
But I think the only part of the trail that's causing any problem is that very beginning.
Right, where it loops over towards Long Pond.
Well,
The other side,
I'm regardless of where it goes, the only part I'm concerned about is that wet area in the middle is what people are walking through now. So, and I know the space to the left of it was still wet. If we can enter further up and bypass that whole, I don't know.
Right.
We'd have to go out there and look at that. But I think that the trail overall was, I think we all agree the trail was okay and we
well,
liked
there were
it.
two parts. There was the Peters designed part that was the continuation of the Mormon Trail. I think we had no issues with. I don't know how much we want to go into it. When we walked it with Peter, we had the concept of sort of diverting bikers more onto those trails, because part of our mandate also is that bikers like a different type of trail.
Right.
And we were mandated to also, include trails for that. That's not necessarily, there are conflicts between different users, and our plans address that. And where possible, it said possibly bikers would end up having their own trails. And that's right in our plans, because, and we've had it, and we get all kinds of complaints about all dog walkers, we get complaints they leave poop. Bikers, we get complaints that there are conflicts. I mean, it's just the way it is when you have a shared property. There are always conflicts. So the concept would have been nice to have sort of walkers have a more sort of directish route, whereas bikers can go do their thing, and you don't then conflict, because dog walkers really shouldn't be on, our brochure identifies the trails that are laid out specifically for bikers. If you're a dog walker and you go on those trails, well, you're kind of asking for whatever you get. You know what I mean? You can't complain. So we try to, Peter with the committee was saying, maybe this would be one of those situations, similar to Twister, where we put in the brochure, designed with bikers in mind, but open to anybody, blah-da-da. And then they get to have their fun, but walkers don't have to do that, and they don't have to constantly be coming up a hill and somebody's coming down a hill, and we get conflicts. It'd be nicer when we can separate these people.
That main trail needs to be closed down.
From that, right. I think we all decided we were fine from post 6 up to 15. And
I don't know.
oh, well,
the post
okay,
number,
the
yeah.
beginning, remember when we came up Peters
Yep.
Trail and we said, oh, we'll keep this open up to 15. We agreed we'd keep that open, that part. So that's fine. It's really just there when you go over that hump and down. So if they wanted to have big loops and we could have more moderate loops, that would work for me too, you know. It would get us off the eroded part, but I won't battle for that, but it's just, yeah, I'll battle to not have us
Well,
by Long Pond.
The only trouble is we only walked the one trail. So
No, we walked Peters, we walked
and we
Matt's,
walked that.
and then we walked over, and then we walked
Walked-
Peters.
Yeah, right. So we didn't walk a walking trail and a biking trail. We only walked one trail up that hill.
Right, we
Right.
walked the
Right.
trail that,
So we can't agree to put another walking trail in without.
no,
See.
and I'm not asking
Okay.
us to, I'm just kind of sort of
and
just
I-
reminding everybody that part of our mandate is to, where possible, kind of get conflicting users to have their own space a little bit without encroaching on our eastern
But
side.
just keep in mind that's a steep hill.
Yeah, and we might not be able to do that.
It's I think the trail that went up that hill is, trying to navigate the flats as best as possible. And that's where I know it seems like a lot of twists and backs, but it was navigating the flats.
But I think because it kept trying to get back, we don't have to get back. It doesn't have to start where we started. Just because post 14 is there now doesn't mean that's the best way up the hill. Maybe we drop down. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I won't argue that. It's just the Long Pond thing. That's the part I feel like we can't justify that.
Okay. Well, does that change the plan of the trail? I mean, it does obviously change the plan of the trail, but I mean, does that mean that? How does the start of that trail start now?
I think even if the post was moved, the beginning of the trail was moved, so many people go there and go to the pond there now, we're not going to change that use. We're not going to change those habits of the people that do that. So many people go start up Horse Hill and then go right to the pond. You saw.
I would dispute that. There are very few people, we don't see trash out there, we don't see broken down trees out there. Some people will go out there.
That footpath is
Certainly.
pretty well.
Yeah,
I mean,
That
just
wasn't a
state-
footpath until just recent. That's one of those unauthorized trails that popped up in the last year. That was never a trail until 6 months ago. Suddenly, ba-doom, a trail popped up.
But I think,
Yeah.
but obviously, that's what I'm saying, is people are obviously using it, though, that's the problem.
Right, as a trail that popped up, suddenly somebody decided they wanted a trail there, and we've had to try and block it off. It's one of those trails that popped up recently. Until then, we have very few people that leave the trail and go over to Long Pond. We don't see evidence of that crushed down things. We don't.
I think we did when we were out there. But
There's a trail there now because it's an unauthorized trail that showed up suddenly 6 months ago.
Right, so an unauthorized trail is a separate discussion, really, right?
Mm.
I mean, if we all of a sudden have a new behavior that's considered bad behavior, we should deal with that separately. I don't think I'm prepared to just resolve that, okay, that's a new place and it's gonna be that way. I don't think we should resolve to do that yet. You know what I mean? I don't think we should accommodate that that trail. you know
what I'm saying is, if we move it, I think the habit is people are going out there, and it's like, people that want to take pictures of the pond and whatever they're doing out there. I'm just saying that we're going to have to deal with that,
Mhm.
moving the post and all that, but we didn't walk anything over that way, so I have no idea what that looks like.
I hate to say yes and start this trail down the hill, and get down to the bottom and be like, okay, now where?
No, I don't think we're in a position, I don't think there's a route right now that is acceptable. I think it has to be remapped to not go next to Long
Yeah, so
Pond.
maybe
and
it's-
what
So if we
that's
can
gonna
look at
mean.
that base, and again, I have reached out to wildlife biologist, so, when he gets back to me, we can make a time to get out there. We can go take a look at it and see if it's
'Cause, I mean, if-
truly something that's gonna be, we're kind of behind that ridge, but, I don't know what their sense of smells. I don't know how my walking there, if it's gonna impact them or not. I'm not gonna even
Yeah,
pretend to make that.
I mean, if you look at the other end of Long Pond, the trail goes through the turtle nesting area.
At the very end, we
Yeah.
laid that out extremely carefully. We went as close to our property boundary as we physically could
Yeah.
to get as far down Long Pond as possible. If you look, there is like nowhere we could be farther down Long Pond to where it's just a little teeny creek, really, not where it's still a pond. We cross where it's literally just a creek. And we did that very intentionally to leave as much, that's our mandate. This is a nature preserve. This is not a recreation property.
Yeah, I
There's a
mean, if you look at Lastoka Pond, if you look at all of them, the trail goes.
Lastoka
Through it.
Pond is in the recreational area. Another thing that I didn't bother, we're mandated to use our existing logging roads. That's part of these plans, that they didn't want us cutting in new trails except for the ones that are laid out, as you can see on the last page. They proposed certain new trails, and we've created all of them. We have done what this plan has told us to do at that last page, and in addition, we've permitted Matt and the bikers to put in 2 mountain bike trails in addition to these, which is in accordance with the plan. We've really tried to follow this. Everyone identified as potential new trails, we put them in. But we were told, use the logging road, so you cut as few new trails as possible. We did that. We followed our mandate. We follow our plans. And yes, there was a logging road that went right next to Lastoka Pond. Yep. And that's what leads to our parking lot. Yep. There's very little we could, do with that without cutting into a wetland. That road was there because it went between wetlands. It was like the high spot between the wetlands. That's where we're going to go, And yes, it goes next to Lastoka Pond, but that was there. That's part of our mandate.
And there's more behind that, too. There was an area that was designated to be a forestry cut area, which kind of which forced the trail closer to the pond. That and then closer to the parking lot, the possibility of athletic fields dictated where that trail could go or not go as well.
Right. So there was a lot that led into
So-
that. These trails, we didn't just sort of pluck it out of the air. Boop, let's just put it there. There's so much went into these plans.
So my question is, so the portion we're trying to discontinue has an erosion problem. Do we treat it like we treat Gateway or Suicide on Greater Woods? We just deal with the current trail and we try to create water bars and make the best of it and leave it as is, and not put in any new trail?
We could.
I don't.
And it'd been very similar to the Gateway Hill. You'd have to put a fairly large bridge in the bottom to span that wet area,
Mhm.
and that hill's steep.
Yep, I
And
know.
Gateway Hill's, I guess, steep too. And
Yeah.
but that, you look at the how tumultuous that was to deal with.
Mhm.
It's almost like I just rather just close this off and not use it.
Well, that's also an option.
So.
But I do remember the long discussions we had in the early 2000s about what trails we were going to do, how we were going to put them. And Deb is extremely accurate. The will of the people involved was to utilize the current trails as much as possible and make the best of them. So if making the best of them means that we have to do some maintenance on that hill in order to make it better, kind of like the issues they have at Mount Monadnock and the other places, then we deal with that. So because this property was put together through 3 plans, as she mentioned, by a very large consensus of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to be sensitive to that.
I don't think the rock. I don't know. Maybe there is that much. There's a lot. We're gonna have to add a lot of material to that trail, the length of it up that hill, because to put water bars in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that maybe there's a better solution. I don't know.
That's gonna.
But have we explored solutions that just keep to the same trail, or are we thinking that we're beyond that point and it really needs to be a rerouted trail?
I don't think you can save it, but like Gateway Hill.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Gateway Hill. There's like a bowl, and Gateway is the only option.
Mm-hmm.
There's a nice gentle slope right next to the steep hill.
Okay. Well, then it's probably worth looking at it with the caveats that have been addressed
Yeah.
here. See what.
And maybe that's the solution. Is at the base is a large bridge over that base, and then kick off to the left to get up that hill.
Yeah. Or turnpike the wet area.
Because that area's always been a problem.
Yeah.
That post where that new kiosk is and all that stuff, all that whole section through there.
The section that we're speaking of, you can just grab a handful of silt,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and it's just that soft silt, dust.
From being washed down that hill. Yeah.
All right.
Well, do we feel we're in a position to say yes to a new trail? We've got a lot of up in the air.
I don't think we are.
There's a lot of questions, I think, up in the air. I'm not sure I'm really ready to say yes to a new trail. But unfortunately, that also means now that we not say, what do we do with the trail that's there? We know is a problem. That's something we need to.
I guess to answer your question, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be looking at a new trail, but I don't think we know the layout of that trail yet. We're not ready to implement. But I don't think we need to throw the concept out the window either.
No.
Right?
Right.
So we need to break again, but now we need to break this up in 2 trails because you brought up a good point. We walked a second trail on the back side of the hill. So this right now we're only referring to. Does this trail up the hill have a name right now yet?
Horse Hill Summit.
Horse Hill Summit bypass. Is that kind of what we're calling it for now? Until we.
The first part.
The first
that went,
part.
we were just thinking that as Matt's trail and Peter's trail.
Yeah, well, it's.
So, because it's the Matt's
All right,
design trail
so
and the Peter design trail.
the Summit Trail is the one that we feel we need to address.
fix. After
We
it-
need to fix, and the fix is either fixing the trail itself as it exists or
Or go around.
creating a new trail. At the base, there's a lot of problem at the base, and as Matt just said, and you guys know it's wet, and we're washing silt down that hill, something fierce, and washing it off into the wetlands, and also washing it off towards Long Pond,
Yeah.
which is not what we should be doing either.
Which is
That's
probably even worse for the animals.
Well, yeah, it's having an impact. So I don't feel like we're ready to move forward on that yet. I guess, is that something you can bring back to Peter and see if we can maybe explore some other options to getting to the base of that trail? And he was going to redesign the top in construction, and I understand during trail construction, we're building a trail in the woods, it may have to morph to some degree, but there seem to be some extra switchbacks up top that maybe could be removed. So if he can get a good flagging done, and then we can come up with some options maybe for the base, either a bridge over that wet area or a different entrance point, and moving the post. Does that sound amenable to everybody? Jim? So that's the Summit Trail. And the Summit Trail, new Summit Trail, I guess. We can address that. And the second trail is, is it going to be called the Mormon Trail, or is it?
No, the Mormon Trail is the lower part. We temporarily we're just calling it the Peter Trail that connects the Mormon Trail.
It'll stick.
No. We're trying not to do names. No, it's a big process to name a trail. We have to go through all kinds of community input and stuff.
But that,
it connects the Mormon Trail to Horse Hill Summit, and Peter laid out, a pleasant. We saw no reason to dispute it because we were keeping that side of the Horse Hill Summit Trail would remain open.
yeah, that seemed to me like a
That
good.
seemed fine,
yeah,
and
seemed a
that's
good
a good plan for us because again, it
I
sort
like
of
the school bus.
separates. It gets people away from having conflicts.
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of.
Is
our
that going to
goal.
be? Is that one of the ones that kind of destined to be a bike trail?
We're going to have to see how it actually lays out. Like you said, when things actually get laid out, it didn't seem as much so, but we'll have to see. We'll just have to see how it lays out. And if it seems like really this is a trail that would be good for bikers, then we put that in the brochure, and then don't complain to us if you get hit out there. I hate to sound that brutal, but we get a lot of that.
It only takes one.
We're trying to do our best so that everybody can enjoy themselves and not feel intimidated, and it's tough. It's tough. You have multiple users, it's tough. But that's all right. We're doing it. We're figuring it out.
Never mind the 3 years of meetings, it's tough.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Well,
Anyway.
I was comfortable with that trail, and I know you and Peter liked it the way it was, so I
Right, and I
don't
saw
have an
nothing
issue.
against it, so there's no reason that couldn't go forward anyway.
So I don't know if we really just nod and say, yeah, go ahead, or do we need to? I mean,
So my comfort factor is if we had something that said this is kind of where it is. I have nothing.
And I don't. This was not, this was Peter and Matt.
And the reason why is since those plans were done, we spent a lot of money in the last 18 months having other plan work done, and I'd like to bounce it against those documents just to make sure.
Okay.
I don't think there's an issue in this area, I really don't, but I'd like to be sure.
Absolutely, that sounds
well,
smart.
is it something as simple as walking it and getting the KLM and just looking at it on a?
Yeah, if you could do that, because I'm unfortunately not going to be able to walk it for a little while. So.
Okay, I think we can do that.
Yeah, so. I'd just like to do that one last check, just to make sure.
Can you have Peter arrange to have someone walk that trail, whether it's him or me or Matt or whoever?
Yes, something like a GPS so we can get a reading as to where it is and bounce it against the maps that we had made.
He did do GPS coordinates,
Yeah.
but again, did things switch after that? I don't know. I don't know if he modified it.
Okay.
Okay,
Do you have an extra one of these, by chance?
sure. Let's see.
You could have mine.
It's stuff. No, yeah, I just want to include something
Here.
for when we have people bring handouts. We have to.
Yeah, for the minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
good thought.
Thank you, Devin.
Thanks.
Just think, it ain't gonna get any easier.
I know, and actually, it's kind of amazing when you look back through the plans. Even back then, we identified that with increased use, there was going to be increased conflict. And the more we can do to separate people of different uses and, the better. And even back then, we knew it, and here it is, now we're
The demand on
there.
that property is pretty intense.
Pardon?
The demand on the property right now is very
It's getting
intense.
more and more intense. I mean, it really is. Every year, it's getting more intense, and so it means that we have to do our job that much more carefully.
I mean, I can't drive down Natticook Road without seeing people on mountain bikes coming in and out of the
I know.
trails. I mean,
It's a very popular
it's a
sport.
good thing, you know.
It's a good
you know.
thing.
It makes me
It's
very
healthy.
happy to see that, because that's what we thought would happen
Yeah.
15 years ago when we started the
I
process.
mean, we're not
We
talking,
thought it would.
we're talking kids out there. You know,
Yeah.
10, 12 years old.
That's great. Getting people in the
Families.
woods, good
Where they
thing.
got the bikes, I don't know. That's when I go, whoa!
I'm going to sit because they're doing the trail signage, which is really important to us. I want
Here's
to know
my,
that.
here's my Columbia 24-inch. I mean,
Thank
that's
you.
what I had for 16 years.
Thank you, Lynn. All right, so moving on to your favorite topic. I know you guys was one of your. So littering and dog waste on the parcels here. We have a big problem with that. It's not just in any one parcel. It's everywhere. It's great to see some people willing to bag their dog's waste, but then they leave it on the trail as litter. So it's really kind of a twofold problem. And obviously, feces in the middle of the trail is an issue. So, just trying to get a little bit of a round table, see what we can come up with to address this. We do have some town ordinances that address this directly regarding cleaning up after your animal, cleaning up after your dog, and then also what we should do. Some designation of what you can do about litter. So, other than that, anybody got anything to? You guys have some comments? I'm sure.
This is actually the
Yep.
topic that
Yeah,
brought me down.
please come up and sign in. I know you already
I
did.
have already signed in.
Yeah.
So while Andrew's coming up, as you said, we have ordinances.
Yep.
The trouble is are we really going to send the police department out there to enforce them, because they're the only ones who can? Right?
Yeah.
And the odds of actually catching someone in the act are 0.
Right.
So.
I wouldn't say that. No, I wouldn't
right.
say that.
Not so much.
If you stay out there enough, you'll see it.
So I'm on the Wildcat Falls subcommittee, and we continue struggling with this exact topic. The 200 or 300 yards of main trail from the parking lot to the end of the drainage pond. My last walk down there a few days ago, I counted about 20 or 30 piles before I stopped counting. Some of them have clearly been there a while. Some of them are slightly fresher. And being a dog owner myself, I understand that most dogs actually like to go almost as soon as they get to a new
Right.
spot. So we've been working on some approaches to address this. We've decided not to go with the sign that says New Hampshire RSA whatever forbids dog waste. We've tried to take a more congenial approach with please be a good neighbor and pick up after your dog. Whether that's helped, we don't know. We're trying to improve our odds with purchase of an outdoor dog waste bag dispenser. Most people are good about bringing bags. I almost always do. Honestly, once or twice I've forgotten, or I thought I had more in the car. I worked with our local store in town, Pet's Choice. I know the owner, and she did some research. She has a very good outdoor, sturdy, lockable bag dispenser that she's agreed to obtain for cost. So at some point, I'll be bringing forth a proposal to fund that.
I brought sheets on it in case,
Okay.
in case you guys wanted to see that.
There are dozens of designs out there. This one looked like a fairly reasonable one. The price is in line with most of the others. Bags can be had. And it is designed for attaching to a piece of lumber, a 4x4 or a 6x6. So our plan is to attach it right to the kiosk as you walk in the gate. So that even if you don't get one, if your dog makes a mess 50 feet away, you can walk back and get one. We're also thinking of having 1 or 2 of these small plastic dispensers that holds 20 or 25 bags, maybe attached to our intersection posts. throughout some of the park. Just again, having more availability of bags. We'd like to believe that most people are just without a bag and not that they're actively trying to mess our trails up. So that may be a little optimistic.
Well, they're trying to avoid their neighbors' lawns.
They're trying to avoid their neighbors' lawns, yes.
By driving 2 miles to another property and then letting them go.
Right. So, most of
Well,
the
their
members in
neighbors,
our
they should.
subcommittee are dog owners, and we understand the problem, and we're trying to come up with a reasonable solution that doesn't try to impose martial law on a recreational town property.
Did you guys get my email this afternoon? The picture, well, not that you need to laugh about it, but the picture of the dog sign. I don't have Andrew's.
I saw it.
I don't have Andrew's email. Someone could just forward that to him too, because if you're looking for a sign that's a little less imposing but still gets the point across, this is a dog sign I saw a while ago, a little over a year ago. So I took a picture of it just because of this. So
There are many tongue-in-cheek signs available. I
Yeah.
did a little Amazon search once and found a dozen
Yeah.
amusing ones.
I spoke with the with one of the park directors that was responsible for putting these up, and he said that he feels they had a positive effect. He said it was a pleasant enough hint that said, look, knock it off.
Right.
But it was well done.
That's been our goal. If you tell somebody New Hampshire statute, this provides for a $100 fine for dog
Yeah.
waste, they don't care about that.
$25.
$25, even worse.
It's town ordinance, not a state.
Whereas something that makes them smile a little
Right.
bit and just think about it for a moment, especially with a bag dispenser right there,
Right.
we think will help curb the problem. We have no illusions that we'll ever get it 100% under control. So, with that said, as we bring forth this, this request for Wildcat Falls, I'm wondering if we want to try to design a standardized approach across many of the properties.
Could I suggest that, I think it's fabulous for
Why don't
any
you
property.
You're
come
not
right
gonna
up
be-
and speak
you're
so
not
we can
gonna-
hear you on the microphone, please.
Obviously, at Horse Hill, we have the same problem. I think it'd be great if you want to try something, try it at one property
Yep.
and see how it works there. Because if you provide bags, first of all, it's a cost, but then you have to provide for throwing the bags away. That means that we have to have DPW come and dump that garbage. Now it's a cost for town employees. I mean, we've,
And if we put a trash can anywhere, it's going to get filled.
exactly, and
All the time.
skunks and all kinds of things. So we've discussed this a long time too. Bags means they're not going to take their bag and put it in their car. Matter of fact, a lot of people leave their bags right along our trail.
Right.
So that means disposal, and that to me is worse. I was
Even
thinking
along
I'd
Hassel
rather them just
Road.
take a stick and push it off.
That's an issue, and actually some
And
people
that's
do
much
that.
more
I've
natural,
resorted to
you know,
that a
just
few times
push it with a
myself.
stick. No problem.
Bags these days are actually biodegradable, and we should
are these?
discuss. I'm fairly sure they are. I have not actually
These are-
contacted
these
the
are-
manufacturer.
These are polyethylene.
Polyethylene's not.
Oh, then they're not. There are many companies that
Okay.
do make biodegradable bags. That's all the rage these days. And at least then they can
Right.
toss them into the woods where they will quietly disappear over the next
That's more reasonable,
while.
but yeah,
Which is reasonable.
we've
and-
been afraid of having anything
Right.
that's a trash disposal in the parking
So
lot.
we
just
have
thought
a
that's
trash
disaster.
barrel at Wildcat Falls, which honestly is far less used than Horse Hill. And it's not a problem. It gets emptied once in a while by DPW. Never seen it even remotely full. But again, our traffic volume is a small percentage of yours.
Well, that's all I wanted to say is whatever
okay.
you do, try it one place
Yep.
first, not us.
Right. So biodegradable bags obviously are an issue that we'd want to make sure about that. And would that be something that we'd want to put on the signage to say, please just do this, so they don't feel that they have to carry it around for their 3-hour hike?
I
Which
think,
is-
I think they should carry it around for their 3-hour hike. So I'm one of those people that likes to go off trail. The
Okay.
last thing I want to do is come around, is to be walking through a prickle bush patch and trying to get around it and go, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, what did I just find that I couldn't see because the bushes were in the
A
way,
valid point.
right?
Or it's a nice green camouflage bag.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, perhaps if they were day glow,
Right.
blaze orange
yeah,
or something.
Yeah.
So we see these little glowing things out in the woods all over the place.
Right.
It's easy to pick up at night.
So that is a valid point. And again, from a dog owner's perspective and from just walking the trails constantly, 95+% of our problem is the first 100 or 200
Us
yards
too.
of trail from the entrance.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
That's because they get rolling, and when they get rolling, their bowels loosen up. And
Exactly. When my dog comes out of the
And
car,
that's it.
she wants to
And then
leave her
1,000
mark.
feet in, we really don't see dog poops that much.
Right. So with the sample, the small dispensers that we're thinking of putting on the post, we're probably going to put one at post 1, which is the one that's just about at the end of that 200-yard stretch, just in case they decide they're closer to there than to walk back. There are potentially some issues with water getting into them because they're not really designed to be weatherproof like these dispensers are. But we didn't want anything like that on a post.
So you got, so you want to try this? We want to spend the money on this just to try it?
So I was, we've been debating this in our subcommittee, and we'd like to get a dispenser out there. This seemed like a reasonable one. I spotted it at the pet store in town. There are many other designs. This seemed like a very sturdy, lockable one. The bags are somewhat reasonable cost comparatively. And the dispenser is in line with some of the other ones. There are less expensive ones in the $50 to $60 range, and they're made out of metal that you can basically bend with your bare hands. So I didn't really think they would stand up to long-term outdoor use in a public park.
If I could just shout something out here, have you talked to the dog park people? They've spent like years now designing this dog park and doing everything about the dog park. Maybe there'd be some economies of scale if you could join in with them and buy the bags together, or have,
Right.
whatever your dispenser is could use the same as their bags. Now maybe they can buy bags in the
I've-
thousands.
Yeah, I've researched a lot of those, been to a lot of dog parks in my day, and a lot of other parks that have outdoor dispensers.
But I mean the Merrimack Dog Park Committee.
I've not been in
Yeah,
the, talking to the dog park committee.
Yeah, because they
so-
might have looked into this, and you might as well do
Right.
the same thing they're doing, the same bags, if the town's gonna buy them,
talk to Matt Kasparis.
Yeah, there's Matt Kasparis, okay.
Yeah, they're already, they've started construction out there.
All right.
So they're,
Most of the
Well, I'm
dog
sure they'll
parks
have
I've seen tend to have the standalone kiosks that have the dispenser and a waste container and some signage built in. They also make a model like that. It's considerably more expensive. But again, I'm happy to,
it was just a thought, just to
yeah, might as well leverage
use the
someone
same
else's
bags, then
research
you buy them by
too.
the thousands and
Right.
make it cheaper for everybody.
At the risk of ticking off the entire dog population in Merrimack, but I mean, I don't know how much a dog license is anymore because I don't have a dog. Would it,
cost me
How much is it?
$3.
$7.50 for a spade or
I mean, would it be worthwhile to tack $1 or $2 onto each dog license just so that we have some money to pay for these bags?
Sounds reasonable.
I mean, I understand that not every dog owner is going to be
This was a
walking
question I
there.
raised with the dog committee.
Yeah, I mean, not every
to
dog
maintain
owner
it.
walks their dog, but
But
it
would
would
they
be a
sell-
shared
Probably
Probably
expense.
would be $1. I mean, the count of bags, the bags are about a half a cent a piece. So, probably 25 or 50 cents times the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 dogs we have in
Pay for the
town.
bags.
Yeah,
4,000?
Wow.
now all the dog owners will hate me.
Seem to be
No,
4,000.
who'd even notice? They wouldn't
Right.
even notice.
Oh, they'll notice.
You
And
notice when your taxes go up a dime per thousand.
They'll notice.
You notice when
Well,
your taxes go up.
so
It's the same
I
thing.
don't
It's a
believe
tax. You raise the money via tax. So
my,
it's
my dog registration fee,
yeah.
I don't think has changed in all the years I've lived in town.
Yeah.
You
14,
get over
15 years now.
65, it goes down to $3.
Oh, there's something to look forward to.
Yeah,
So you're my dogs.
I'm 65 in dog years.
Really.
All right. Well, I'm happy to talk to Matt Kasparis, but at any rate, we share your pain. We have all the same kind of problems.
Yep.
I'm glad to see that your experience with the location of the waste
Same
problem
thing.
is the same.
And it's the same thing with Greater Woods. I mean, there's a gate right up there behind the middle school, and you walk along that. That's the most littered section of that whole area.
Yeah, your dog is gonna poop in the next 300 yards.
That's
Please
it.
take a bag.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I would suggest, because so many shopping bags are recycled anyway, but I think that would become a problem. I mean, if you had a place for people to, the bags would be all over the place because
They
people
will.
wouldn't leave them
Yeah.
properly, so.
They will. They aren't gonna carry them.
They don't carry them, and
If there's no trash bags, they're not taking them out.
No, but even to take, like I take all of, usually I bring my own shopping bags to the supermarket, but if I forget and I get a plastic bag, I recycle those at Market Basket or whatever. But if people had a place,
Full of poop?
no, I don't have a dog.
Sorry.
You're getting punchy.
Yeah.
But if you had a place for people to bring their supermarket bags, but I think that would end up becoming a problem. I think
I'd
they'd
say
blow
in-
around
In
and,
a place like
Yeah.
Horse Hill or Greater Woods that gets a lot of traffic,
Raccoons.
we honestly
yeah, it's
have
gonna be
a
nasty.
good scenario at Wildcat Falls. We don't get that much traffic there.
yeah.
And you have a trash can.
And we have, well, that's why we can have a trash can in a reasonable fashion.
Yeah.
And I understand that at Horse Hill, that trash can would be full by the end of the day.
I know. So it becomes a town expense.
No, noontime.
Yeah.
On a good Saturday, yeah. So it becomes a town
Oh,
expense.
good, I can empty out the car here.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Right.
Anyway.
So I,
Carry in, carry out
uh,
ethic here.
So I think the philosophy is we're never going to solve 100% of the problem. Some people will just let their dogs litter. Some people will use a stick and get it into the woods. Some people will use a bag. I think more people will use bags if we have them available. And I think that's all we can do. So the town needs to decide whether it's worth, the $100 for the dispenser and, $40 for a supply of bags for a couple of years.
I would certainly look for something that's biodegradable because there's definitely a grassroots thing going on in New Hampshire
Most
to
of them
become.
are. I'm honestly, I hadn't checked, but I'm surprised
yeah.
that these are not.
Yeah.
They make them. I've never looked at the name on it.
Well,
But I have some at
Yeah,
home. So.
because I mean, from what I'm seeing, there are states that are going plastic free, and I would imagine New Hampshire will be one of them within the next 5 years. I hope.
So,
well, we're saving all our plastic bags for our daughter because she's in a plastic-free town.
who would we talk to about something like putting a 25 or 50 cent charge on dog licenses?
Talk to the town
on
council.
this town council?
Yeah, then you have to look to see if the state law would allow you to augment the fee. because
Is it
the fee, I
a
think,
state
is
fee?
Fee dictated by state law?
I believe it is.
I think so. Because I don't even think we enjoy the revenue that comes out of that. I don't think it stays in the town, does it?
I don't know.
So,
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I just,
yeah. So,
all I know is we probably pay a lot more to try to enforce it than we get out of it.
right. But I think the
We're
experiment's
sending out hundreds
worthwhile.
of
though.
delinquency notices in April and May.
Right. Yeah, so at Wildcat Falls, we are planning to move ahead with the dispenser.
Well, yeah,
And we'd like to try it out, and I'm happy to report back how our experience is in a few months.
so moving ahead means you have to make the purchase, which means that has to,
Right.
either you have to suck it up yourself, or you have to get us to agree to spend the money.
Right, and
So-
we're gonna go the latter route. Right, so, and I know that was not on the agenda for tonight, but I figured since you were having the poop discussion, I would come down and join it.
Yeah.
Well, I would say it's not on the agenda. That's exactly why it was there. I mean, to have this discussion. So,
So you're thinking a motion's in order then?
well,
We usually require the subcommittee to fill out that form. That's what we've done with everything that we spent subcommittee-wise.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that from our bridge building exercise.
Exactly.
And so on, and that's not a problem, I'm happy to do that.
But I made it too easy for you by filling out your form, so. You don't remember.
Okay.
No, it's just, yeah, we didn't get this on the agenda as a purchase item, so.
Right,
We
understood.
can do that.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to help you do that.
And I'm clearly gonna need some more research to find a supply of biodegradable bags,
I'll look at the bag.
because, trash can notwithstanding, there will be some people who just fling them into the woods, and it's a valid point. Unfortunately, it's difficult because there's that wetland area to the left there, and we'd like to try to keep it out of that. Hopefully, people will have a little bit of common sense, but
It's not that common.
yeah,
Nope.
not
If
that
they
common.
did, we wouldn't have this problem.
True enough.
What
All
you
right.
need to be doing is standing out by the front gate with prizes. If you see them carrying a bag out, you give them one.
There you go. So all told, sort of an expected budget for this would be on the order of $150, which would get us the dispenser box and a fairly long-term supply of bags. And again, if we talked with the dog park folks, maybe we can figure out a group purchase on bags and get them in bulk by the crate rather than 2 boxes at a time.
And Doggy Park does make biodegradable bags.
Okay. Now, I was really surprised that those weren't on there because pretty much everyone these days does that.
Is there a price on them?
For the biodegradable ones? $92 for 10 rolls. So,
As opposed to $89.99.
yeah,
Yeah.
$2.
Okay, so that's not
Premium.
All right.
bad. All right. Is it too early to make a motion? Okay.
Giving you a sense of what will be coming your way at one of the upcoming meetings.
How many is 10 rolls?
There are 200 per roll, I think.
Oh, okay, 200 bags per roll. Is that the, you're already close at 10.
For what it's worth, the pet store owner has had hers up for, I think she said, 1.5 years, and she's still on the 2 rolls that came with the dispenser.
She's got it up down here?
Yes. And so if you walk over to Pet's Choice, right mounted on one of the posts outside her store, that's where I discovered this unit.
Okay.
It just seemed like a reasonable one.
Yeah, there were at least 8 vendors at any International City Management Association conference who were selling this kind of stuff.
I see them all over.
It's a problem for everybody.
It is,
We're not
um,
alone in this. Let a dog, let poop.
But since it's in an unattended area, we wanted one that was sturdy and going to be nicely weatherproof and baseball bat resistant, maybe.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Oh, not open for a
We'll get that-
challenge to our local heroes?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, moving on. Next item, discuss standard methods and policies for discontinuing and closing trails. And that's, that came from the Horse Hill Subcommittee meeting the other night. Peter brought up a very good point. We call trails discontinued, and we have signs up that we're discontinuing trails, but we never tell anyone they're closed. So we all knew what discontinued meant, or what we meant by discontinued. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone else that walks on our properties feels means that they shouldn't be there. So we wanted to address that, and also what some physical barriers. How do we, what do we do going forward? Should we have a, almost a BMP of our own as to what we need to do to close trails? I know Matt and I have spent a lot of time dragging lumber into trails. I'm sure you guys have too. But it doesn't always work. You get back up there a couple days later and it's all sawed up and pushed off to the side, and so
Chainsaws are a wonderful thing.
yeah, they are. They're great. They do a good job. And certainly with the amount of clippers and brush cutters people can, the light, people can walk into the woods now with some pretty good sized machinery that really does not weigh you down. So I don't know. We got some. I was kind of thinking you might be able to start this off because you've got the most really trail experience than anybody here. physically closing a trail. I mean, what do we need to do to just make it so blatantly obvious that you shouldn't be walking here?
I mean, I guess the best result I think we've seen at Horse Hill is when you walk straight out of the parking lot and up to Long Pond or Listoka Pond, and you've got the first bench there, and the trail takes a gentle turn to the left, and then there's a little boardwalk.
Mm-hmm.
The trail used to go straight. So when we wanted to close that, we planted pine trees, and it blocked the line of sight.
Okay.
And every couple years, when we get saplings, I would plant a couple more, and a couple more, and then it just levels of trees grew in, and now nobody goes that way anymore, and the new trail is defined. It takes a little dedication.
Yeah.
Or we
But-
could just move all that dog poo over there.
So the sign says dog waste collection site?
Yeah. Caution, dog waste.
Walk at your own risk.
Yeah. Stop me.
The problem, as we'll find, is when people are very familiar with going a
Right.
certain way, stopping a behavior, stopping a habit, somebody's habit. I've been going this way for 20 years. I'm going to go this way. That's hard.
Right. I mean, we had some success. I know in Greater Woods we've closed a couple trails by dragging a lot of lumber in the long way, and leaving it foliated, leaving the sticks and branches, and it's a son of a gun to get it all in
Agreed.
there.
Yeah.
And it's a thicket to try to get through, but it also now discourages new growth and from the property filling back in, because it's a mess. It's purposely a mess, and it makes it difficult to cross, but it stops people from going down it. But I'm thinking, like, if you go into Greater Woods, you go down the lower school loop,
Mm-hmm.
and it breaks off to the pond.
Yep.
People have taken down that stone wall,
Yeah.
and they're walking down there to stay along the pond. And that's a trail that leads to the other side of Brickyard that you can cross in the wintertime when it's frozen, but you can't get across there now. But it's still beat right down. So I like that, planting trees in the way, though. That's kind of a neat idea.
I call it vertical mulch.
We have occasionally the same issue at Wildcat Falls, the north.
Andrew, please, so they can hear.
At the north end of the North Loop Trail, where the bridge is, we, under Matt's direction, specifically moved the trail to another part of the hill to avoid erosion problems. But people cross the bridge, see the main trail 30 feet in front of them,
And go.
and we're on the third iteration of them clearing the trail and us filling it back in.
Oh, no.
And it's a short piece of trail. It's 30 feet or so, but it's a very steep hill, very bad for erosion, and it leads right into a brook that feeds into the Souhegan River.
You aren't going to make people that went there to walk more than they want to walk.
Right.
Yes. Are we allowed to use bear traps?
At least advertise them.
Freezer wire.
I was thinking we could just plant some poison ivy.
Oh, we got plenty of that. Don't plant more.
Yeah.
And fertilizer with the poop.
So, and our mechanism has been what Matt talks about, just try to fill it in to break the line of sight so it just doesn't look like an obvious trail when you get there, and hopefully eventually some other stuff will fill in and people will leave it alone.
I wonder if people think they're helping. Like, if they see trees down, they go, "Oh, the tree fell down in the let me take care of this," or something, or clearing the trail that you've obviously put stuff on.
They're only helping themselves.
Yeah,
Believe me.
I don't
From
know,
somebody who
but-
does trail work,
Yeah.
people don't
someone
want to
other-
do trail work.
Oh, that's
Someone other than me is using
Yeah.
a chainsaw in Wildcat Falls, and I'm the only one on the committee who has a chainsaw.
Oh, wow.
Because I have seen trees that have been chainsawed. Now, in this case, it was one that had blocked a trail, so that was actually a good thing, but that means, like you said, somebody is bringing power equipment out there to do trail work.
Well, I know who that is, so
Okay.
we'll connect later.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking maybe the Beavers combined resources and ordered one from Home Depot.
No. Karen knows who it is, too.
All right.
All right, so, do
The
we,
signage, so, sorry.
no, that's what I'm saying, so I, but,
Finish.
well, signage, yeah.
When you put a signage that says discontinued trail, people go, where does that trail go?
Yeah.
It's an invite. And if you put a trail closed sign, it's even more of an invite. So blocking it is usually the way to go. Unless you've got a trail that says, this trail goes to private property or something like that, then that has some legal ramifications. And people will probably go, well, I'm not going to try that one.
Scout camp boarded a piece of private property. The guy had tripwires all over the place. We used to go out there and kick them on purpose, just to hear the dogs howl.
So I agree with Matt. It's signage that says discontinued trail is an invitation, but if you have a troublesome trail, sometimes I think it's worthwhile to put up a sign that says, now, please cut it out.
And I agree, we don't want to have too many signs, absolutely, and discontinued is pointless.
Right.
But if there's a problem trail, and if usually we close them for a real good reason. For us, it's usually wetlands. It's because some trail has created a wetland problem. I think there might be more respect if we put up a sign that said trail closed due to wetland violation or something to that wording that might make people stop and say, oh, all right, they didn't just close it because it's inconvenient for them. There's a wetland, there's a real reason why they close it. At least, at the very least, to replace those discontinued signs, which are fairly useless.
I understand what you're saying, and I would agree, except how many different situations are we going to run into? How many signs are we going to have say closed for?
Yeah,
I think
I'm not
we should
saying
just pick
everywhere.
one.
That's right.
Protected wetland. is a good
Exactly. If
one.
you have one that's
We already have
continually
those
a
signs.
problem.
Right.
If
We
you
already
have
have
one
those signs.
continual
Well,
problem.
to me, I was not thinking of a sign that goes up and stays up. I mean, you close a trail for a couple of years in the woods, and you actually stop people from getting on it.
And then it grows in.
It's pretty much it pretty much goes away.
Right.
So,
That's
I was thinking that's going to something that would be up for a little, for a period of time, and then it would go away. So I don't know if that changes anyone's idea of putting up a discontinued closed or not, but does that? You feel that wouldn't have the same effect?
Well, the one that I can think of that we have up now is at Gateway Hill. Right before Gateway Hill, we have the new bridge, and right next to the new bridge, where the mud bog, where the people like to, we put those wetland signs up this year. They've worked.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's right in the path of where they were going.
Right.
Right.
And there was also some vertical mulch installed.
Yeah.
And other things,
Vertical mulch is a good term.
and a camera.
Yeah.
So it stopped, crazy, but it stopped with the camera signs and other things. That area stopped, but that was we were having wetlands violations, so the wetland signs worked.
Right.
But we have wetland signs.
Yeah, we have them in some places, but we hadn't used them before as a way of closing a trail. It just gives people a reason, not just that we're being jerks, but there's a real reason. Did you say that you put up, so when you put up your cameras, you actually put up a sign that said cameras enforced by
No.
No, you didn't?
No.
Okay, all right, I thought I
No.
misunderstood you then.
You're
So
in
we
public-
could use 2 of those wetland signs at Wildcat Falls. Have a particular trail that needs them.
Great.
Now, is this something that's going to be closed and closed for good?
It
Or
is closed. It was
Clo-
taken off the map when
Okay.
we designed the map, and it really does go through a pretty messy, nasty wetland, and a place that has high erosion, and it's not really a needed trail, so signs like that. And we did a little vertical mulch on it. It wasn't that heavily used to begin with, but
Okay. Well, I guess so. I guess kind of going forward, that's vertical mulch is the method of.
That's what we've been using.
Yeah. Now, are you using the seedlings like from left over?
Yeah.
Okay.
That whole pile I took.
Yeah.
They, a lot of them at Horse Hill got eaten, or those little
And some didn't
pine
roll.
saplings.
Yeah.
The deer loved to chew on those. You'd see them, and it was just all the top was just gone. It was just sitting there.
One nice thing is, we did one of those with Girl Scouts, because it's something that they enjoyed doing, and they planted things to block off one of those trails, and it makes a nice little Girl Scout, if you're looking for someone to help you, because it's a bothersome, haul them out there, dig the holes. It's a nice little Girl Scout thing. It worked well for us. having them
Another area,
a Saturday.
Tom's bushes out of his backyard blocked a trail.
Still got plenty.
Does the state
help
still do
yourself.
the seedling program?
Yeah, and
Yes.
Merrimack gives away a
We
ton
do
of-
the seedling giveaway in the spring.
Yeah.
Right.
But the state still, yeah, I mean, we purchased it as the MCC, but anybody can purchase.
Because I know we talked about that once for Wildcat Falls for along the fence line.
Yeah.
I mean, they're seedlings. They're
Gets
they're
things
little.
started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're little. So I mean, we have a lot every year. We have people show up that are expecting, little shrubs, and it's like, no, it's a seedling. It's a bare root seedling. So
Seedling I got from the state was that big.
Yeah. some of them are. All right, so we're in the agreement. I guess we have to get signs that for the wetland sign is one. That's. I mean, what other impact areas do we try to close for?
We have signs that say bird nesting. We have a mud season sign, and we have the wetland sign. We're probably before too long going to need to reorder some of them, but I think they're standard Voss signs that are just 50 more type thing, and the town already has a
Right.
account with them.
Right.
It's fairly easy.
This last summer, susceptible to dust storms.
It's true. Could blow away. Yeah.
All right. So the combination of particular signs, and are we assuming that they don't have to stay up forever? I mean, we can put them up until the growth is substantial enough to, for the most part, erase the vision of the trail, and then take the signs down. I mean, ultimately, the goal is not to have signs all over the woods.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody got any more comments? Good. Moving on to other business. I didn't skip anything today. Okay. Update in Jeff's work at the Continental Boulevard. Sorry, Tom.
Oh.
Property. We'll fix that this time. Have you spoken to him?
I have not. I think you're the last one to see
Okay.
correspondence from him.
All right.
And when I asked you if I should, you had suggested I don't. So I can reach out to him if you'd like.
Oh,
At least
I'm
that's
sorry.
the way.
Yeah,
That's
no,
the way I understood
no,
it.
I- yeah, I
Okay,
was
if I
not-
misunderstood, I'll
I was
fix
going to
that.
call him about the
What?
coming to look at that trail.
Ah, okay.
All right, I'm sorry. I was told. We did get it. We did get another. We got our latest invoice from him, so it's been paid and signed for payment. So
So last I know, he was almost at the point of having a draft and wanting to have a meeting with us to discuss the draft.
Oh, great.
So
I think he actually may be getting back to us for the next meeting, maybe, because we're looking at reading his last email. You were not on his last email?
no.
Okay.
Nope.
I'm sorry. I'll forward that to you. All right. All right. NRPC trail mapping update. Nothing yet. We're still waiting to hear from him.
Yeah.
There's been some correspondence recently. We acquired a GPX file from them for the Wasserman property, and I ended that with I eagerly await the drafts of Wildcat Falls, Horse Hill, and Wasserman.
So Sarah reached out to us a few weeks ago and said, hey, maybe we should get together in October, and I threw out some options if I was to be included. But she didn't come back with let's meet on such and such a day.
Okay.
I mean, I have time on Friday, but I'm not sure what your schedule is like.
I also asked that in the last email. I said, let's.
Okay, all right. So
Where are they getting their source data from for the GPX files?
they're generating it.
Walking in the woods,
All right.
yeah.
Because I have GPX files for the Wildcat Falls trail maps.
Yeah, no, they're using a Trimble that's accurate to like 1 meter.
Okay. I was gonna send you my files, but if you'd like the map.
Yeah, no,
We're mapping with a Ferrari, not a Buick.
Oh,
You mean a Chevy?
All right. Okay. The land donations.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Andy.
thanks.
So one of them that we have in progress, the one that we discussed over by Mitchell Woods and Watkins Forest, I have a fully executed purchase and sales agreement right here.
Beautiful.
Okay? Actually, a donation agreement, all right? So that gets us on the path. Because of the way the parcel is owned and the declarations that are on it, we need to wait out a 90-day cool-down period or option for people to speak about it. We're about halfway into that 90-day period, so I believe early December we'll be completing that 90-day period, which would mean that we would be thinking about a public hearing in the December timeframe to take this further so we can hopefully get on the town council's agenda for January.
We have to have the public meeting with town council. We don't. we're not
No,
gonna-
we
can
do our own public hearing.
Do it here for the donation, then we have to go get
Then you come
town
to
council
us.
to approve it.
No, so there's no public hearing with town council, there's just a meeting agenda item where they need to approve the donation.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
yeah, so we're gone as far as we can legally at this point and expecting, something more, so when you plan the second meeting in December, give me more 3 weeks update on that, and so we can think about getting a notice in the papers for a public hearing and all that, so.
Okay.
So that's good, that's 7 acres right next to where we're doing other conservation work, so it fits right in very well to what we're doing, so.
Great. All right, we have a no-cut buffer along Horsehill and Wasserman. That was something I think the town was, for the most part, going to take over. I don't think we really had much more to do with that.
Right, the town is managing that.
So that's something we can take off our, we want to take it off our agenda?
Well, is that the one where we were hoping that they were going to plant?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how that's been resolved, or if it's resolved too, so. I let it fall off my plate because of everything else that's going on, so.
Well, remember, who in the, okay.
I will make inquiries.
Jillian, well, yeah, so I can send you the last correspondence I had with Jillian Harris in the Community Development Department. She's the primary.
Okay.
All right?
Yep. Do you want to trace that down, Tom?
Honestly, if you don't mind, I'd rather just keep it between us and her at this point.
Okay.
Because when a town councilor gets involved, everyone lights up.
Really?
You have that kind
You're
of
a
power, Tom.
powerful man, Tom. You make people light up.
Yeah.
It is better than, the reaction they've had to us,
Yeah, right.
which is,
Well, it's a lever we want to pull
I
judiciously.
don't think I have really experienced that.
I'm so my experience is when it gets addressed, and nothing against these folks, but when something gets addressed to community development, usually community development copies the entire world, so they know that that everyone knows that they're being timely, reactionary, and all that, which I appreciate. But it begets a whole bunch of things, which then generates questions, and then maybe we're not ready to go to questions yet. So, okay.
Whatever.
Yeah. Are you okay with that approach?
That's fine with me,
Gage?
yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, same thing, encroachment on the Mossman Conservation Area.
Yeah, so I never made it out to look. Last I knew, the resident had till October 1st to initiate to their plans, but I don't know if that was done or not. Do you?
He posted a bunch of pictures on Facebook. Him and his wife were out. They were working all weekend.
Okay.
So we did post pictures. Do you want me to ask him to send you the pictures? Or?
No, not at all. I think what we're looking for is, did the work get done to the town's satisfaction? So,
All right, so the town would have to go and check them.
yeah, ultimately the town would have to
Okay.
check. Yeah.
I would imagine that he contacted the town. He
Yeah,
didn't say
yeah.
anything, but
Yeah.
I
So-
know he was
Mhm.
he was doing a lot of work. And
Okay, and that's great. Jillian had just given him a deadline, and if he's adhered to the deadline, then we're good,
okay,
right? So, and especially if she signed off on it, then we're really good.
okay,
So, okay, I can follow up with her on that one.
okay.
All right, the Anheuser-Busch volunteer opportunity. I've not heard back from those folks yet. I've sent them a couple emails. Mike was gonna try to get in touch with him, but he's on vacation right now, so I'm gonna leave this on there for one more round. And are you dealing? Does Horse Hill have someone from AB coming by and helping them?
No, we have in the past.
Okay.
They did the Spalding Foundation work for us years ago, but not
Not
this
recently,
year.
okay.
No.
All right. Yeah, so I'll leave this on here for one more iteration. If we don't hear from them, I mean, I still have their email address, so we can try it. Website update.
So, last I knew, Wendy was working it, but she hasn't provided me something that she's ready to present to all of us yet. So,
Okay, I sent you an email regarding the photographs.
mhm.
Is there going to be a single common gallery
I
type thing? Is that something we can ask about maybe?
I've asked about it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, great.
I haven't gotten feedback on it yet. So,
Okay, well, we should have moved this forward when Kyle was here. Update and grade road bypass and road design and construction. So, what we spoke about in the past, this section of South Grader Road that is basically underwater. Even now, this very dry spell we have, you walk out there now and it's wet. The road is wet, and it's well above the water line, existing water line, but it's still wet. So we know there's still a lot of moisture up in that soil. That section of road has obviously been discontinued, at an earlier meeting. And we were out there with the Deputy Director, Dawn, I'm not going to try to say her last name, I'm not even going to try it. And the town has agreed to help us do some preliminary design on that road, and Tim and I were out there with her this Saturday, and I think we've picked a pretty good line, seemingly a pretty good line through to bypass that wet area. We got a lot of the surveying done on the lower sections of the road, so we're going to have a good idea of the slopes at the takeoff point on one side, and then up. We didn't get much further than after you left. We were having some problems keeping the machine level, but it's we got into that hill a little bit up the first grade. So we'd like to try to keep this momentum going. If someone's got time on the weekends or after work, we've got some daylight left after work. We could set up on the road and get some of that stuff done. 4:30 type thing. You can get an hour or two out there. Just let me know, and we can find work. It's not hard. It's just standing there with a prism. You're on the other end of a, she's shooting a laser with a prism and just measuring the distance and height elevation difference. So We did have one interesting visitor out there. We, as we were out there shooting the topography, we had a guy out there walking his dog who was also a surveyor. Offered up his help, so it was kind of interesting. But it looks like it's going to be a good. It looks like it's going to be a good line. It's not a lot very curvy. It's a pretty good line right across the crest there.
So we've embedded marking stakes. There's ribbons out there. If you know people who are going out there, ask them not to disturb that for the time being. We'll clean up afterwards.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of orange and blue tags out there. Some up in the trees. Anytime we took a shot, we tried to mark where we were, and keep an idea of how far we progressed, so we can kind of keep a running tally of where we are out there, and then we'll go back and we'll take it down. But particularly bikers, the stakes are driven right flush to the ground, but there is some posts sticking up with flags on them. So we tried to stay off the main trails as much as possible. But there are a couple stumps that are in the ground, but they're flush, but they're still there.
Yeah.
So just so people know.
Yeah, because what she's trying to do is get an idea of all the elevations and the slope lines and the curvatures, so that way when you lay the road, you'll know where the water will run and what's the right path to make. So in order to do that, you got to take samples all around so you can get an idea of what the elevations look like relative to the starting point. So
I'm going to be. There's a subcommittee meeting tomorrow night for Greater Woods, so we're going to ask for some support then to also to get some people out there, see if we can get a lot of this surveying done. Any questions? Good. All right. Subcommittee updates.
So at our last Horse Hill meeting, if you recall, we had a member resign, so we had her open term that was left. We've appointed Sharon Hickey, who was currently an alternate to that position. So
who's appointed her?
the subcommittee?
The
Well, we
subcommittee
have
has
to-
made a recommendation?
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
Sorry,
Made a
I'm trying, I'm
recommendation, sorry.
fixing your language
Thank you.
because we appoint.
Okay,
Sorry.
yes, yeah. Yes, we'd make a recommendation to appoint Sharon Hickey to the remainder of the term, ending July 31st, 2017, which would then leave an open alternate position for the group.
Doesn't we need to make a motion for? Or do we need to have her come in? She's an alternate. She's already an
Yeah, she's
alternate
currently an alternate.
on the board.
No, I don't think she needs to come in, but I do. We don't do a good job of this, so I'm not going to say we should do this now, but we should advertise that we have an opening. But how we advertise that, we'd have to decide what is our protocol for doing that.
Advertise we have an opening as a full-time appointment?
Right, we have a full-time membership
open.
vacancy, and we're looking for people to express interest.
I think that post exists on our website and on the town's website.
As a standard, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
we do, right, we have standard, right, both our website and the town's website expresses that we're always looking for volunteers, but we
We
haven't,
didn't really specify,
that's an option.
right now there is an opening
We have a
here.
high-paying opening.
Yeah, so I don't want
All
to,
high paying, come on.
yeah, we all get paid the same.
Yep, every year you get a 100% raise.
Yeah.
So I don't want to change the rules in here, but we should be thinking as a commission how we want, what our protocol is going to be, I think. I know the town already has one established. They have their committee process, and it's formally documented, and we probably need to do something similar.
Adopt something similar.
Yeah, so again, I don't want to penalize in this case. So, and I don't think we've had any interest from anyone, so it's not like we're closing the door to anyone, so.
And we did announce the resignation last meeting.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, so,
Go ahead,
So-
Michael.
I guess I have to figure out a method for that. Go ahead if you want, like Cindy.
Oh, okay, so I'd like to make a motion to appoint Sharon Hickey to the remainder of the open position, full-time position, expiring 7/31/2017.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 600.
Can you let Amy know so she can update her documents?
Oh, sure.
Will Sharon have to come in and do any swearing in or nothing? Because she's already been an alternate. We just tell her it's done.
Yes,
I'll
of
let
course, and let the chairman know, obviously, that we've made that.
Good. And also, we had talked in some of the meetings before about the users, like you said, the different users, and so someone had found we talked about putting signs up to say, like, for example, you know, a walker should yield to somebody on a horse, you know, riding a horse, biker should yield to somebody walking, those type of things. So a sign was found, and they would like to purchase some of those to put up.
Do you have the picture of it? Because it's really not a big, again, we don't want to have signs everywhere, but we've talked for years about just that first section, putting up some sign to help people remember that to yield properly. We've talked about it for years, and we've never gotten a sign out there, but we need something.
I don't believe this sign's particular to Horse Hill either. I think this is across the board, a
Right.
sign that would work at, you know, at a kiosk location. I don't want to be putting them up all over the woods, but at a kiosk location, I think this is
Sort of at the
probably
beginning, right, as people are coming in.
walking into the trails, they'd see a sign. Cindy's got a copy right there.
Voss has that sign too.
Yeah.
Are there horses at any other, I mean, I've seen horses at Horse Hill, but do we have horses at any other property that go to?
I've seen
I've seen them in Greater Woods.
I've
Oh, yeah?
seen not a horse, but I've
okay.
seen
Courtesy.
Yeah.
what they've left behind.
Yeah. I've stepped in what they've left behind.
So the National Rail Trail uses signs similar to that. Who takes precedence over who?
Yeah.
Is this a triangle sign?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen, yeah.
It's a standard
Right.
sign.
It's a standard sign.
Right.
It may or may not help. The problem isn't so much horses, it's really between, you know, bikers and walkers and dogs, and horses to a lesser degree now than it was, but something to help remind people of.
And again, we're thinking of, you know, this is a kiosk location, not all over the woods. So this would be at a net park entrance or reserve entrance.
So, I know you guys mentioned a form earlier. We're supposed to fill out a form?
Yeah, for money. Yeah, do we have, you kind of made
I
that up.
have it.
Yeah, you have that. You just sent, is that what you just sent me?
Yeah, I think so.
So the idea of making the money
No.
more formal is, so that way we're as transparent as possible. So when people read our agenda, they know, oh, they're going to talk about spending money. Not that people check, but we want to give everyone an opportunity to participate. So that's why we've tried to, every time we expend dollars, have it as a separate agenda item.
Oh, okay.
So it's transparent as possible.
Okay, so we'll fill out the form for next time
Yeah.
and make it a separate line item and,
So, submit it to Gage, he puts it on an agenda, and then it gets taken care of.
okay.
Where we deviate from that is emergency situations or things that are really out of the unusual, out of the norm.
Mhm,
Or
okay.
things that are budgeted.
Oh, okay.
Right, things that are budgeted too.
The NHAC meeting type
Oh,
thing.
right.
Yeah.
How much are the signs?
I think it was like 22 each.
How many would you need?
They requested 7.
Pardon me? 7 signs?
7. Mm.
7 kiosks at Horse Hill?
No, we have the 3 main entrances. I don't know, I can't remember what the discussion was that ended up with 7.
Yeah.
Maybe because at that main, I know, because where we really have the problem is where it is that long straightaway where people just build up speed. So there are just a couple intersections. Again, it's not all through the woods. It'd be one at the entrances and one probably at post 2 and one perhaps at post 3. And that's about it. It's really that long straightaway that they really build up speed, and we have a lot of interactions. So if we could just, I don't know if we need that many. Start with 3, and just see how useful they are.
Is that,
If they do any good.
is everyone in agreement that that's as a sign, that's something we can use throughout all the parcels? I don't believe it's really, I don't think it's particular to Horse Hill.
No, just to see if they do any good, again, you know, or you spend too much money, I don't know.
It's a polite way of reminding people to
See
be
if we have
polite.
fewer complaints.
Polite way of reminding people to be polite.
Oh, right, yes.
That's what it really is.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't know if this is something you normally get on signs. It has a Smart Shield laminate, superior protection against fading and graffiti. It's expensive. It's an extra $12 per sign. But,
Does it protect against rust?
No, most of those signs are aluminum
Okay.
skinned. And
I don't think that you need that.
No,
It's-
you could buy some clear coat and spray it.
Kind of like the warranty.
Try it inexpensively first, and then see if they get ripped down, see if
Oh,
they do
right.
any good, see if you have few complaints, and they might
Target.
be pointless, I don't know.
yeah, right.
Try something.
Voting?
Hmm?
You voted?
I voted? Oh, yes, we, we voted for the vice chair. At our last MCC meeting, there was a request to maybe have 2 vice chairs, but since it wasn't in the new charter, decided that wasn't a good idea. So at the MCC meeting, actually the current Vice Chair Rowland said that he was taking his name out of the running so that other people would get more opportunities. So we appreciate everything he's done. He's going to continue, obviously, doing what he's doing, which we really appreciate, too.
He's going to stay on the committee.
Yeah, he's going to stay on the committee and everything. So Peter Mikulacek? I could never say his name right, so you don't know. Okay.
Call him Peter.
Okay,
Peter
yeah. Was voted in as the new vice chair.
Well, thank Roland for us.
Yes, I will.
One other real quick thing on Horse Hill. We as a committee last time opted to not mow the parking lot edges at Horse Hill. At the Horse Hill subcommittee meeting, it was relayed to us that they use that it's being used quite a lot. There's a lot of people using it for stretching. There are people out there, they want to talk about potentially putting picnic tables out there and using it. So I put it back on the list to talk to DPW about, and we're going to continue to have it mowed.
So Wildcat Falls Subcommittee, they have been working with the Laverne Foundation in order to create the benches that we talked about last time we had the new member come visit with us, Liz. They're getting ready to do install of the 2 benches. As discussed, there was a question about they were trying to match the design and the material exactly, but finding the gray, the gray, I don't know, it's not Trex, but the material that they use for the seating in the back was very hard for them to do. And they asked if they could use a different color, a brown color, I took the liberty of saying yes, go ahead and move forward, so that we weren't the bottleneck to them getting their work done, because they'd like to do it by this year, and they're running out of time to do the proper foundation and setting of the benches. So they're moving forward, and we should be doing that shortly. So, okay.
Oh, Greater Woods, we have a meeting tomorrow night, 6:30 downstairs.
All right.
Sorry to delay the meeting, but can I bring up something else under other business?
Sure.
So Brookside Drive,
Oh, okay.
the commission agreed to, at the last meeting, to purchase signs to try and head off the dumping that's been going on and all that. turns out there's been quite a bit of dumping at 18 Brookside Drive that I hadn't noticed previously. Getting quite close to the brook, so I would say that if we see it continue early next year, we're probably going to have to take more of a formal stance and ask the town to do the right thing and contact potential people who are doing it, because it's so close to Babusick Brook where they're dumping that's a problem. You know, they're dumping lawn clippings, and we have no idea if they're utilizing fertilizers or pesticides or anything else.
All of the above.
Right, and if we get a high water occasion, that stuff's going to wash right into the brook because it's that close. So I documented it with pictures where, thankfully, closer to the end of the season, and once we get the signs up, if we still see abuse, then we're probably going to have to address it. Beyond that, the town hasn't done the cleanup of 10 Brookside yet. They're going to do some cleanup, especially around the storm drain area, which is not our own parcel, but it turns out it's an easement on the neighbor's parcel, the way that is installed, where I had thought previously it was our own property. So just a little update on that, just so you're all aware. So that's it.
Okay. Anyone else have any other business to bring up?
Anybody been in touch with the town about that cleanup?
Have I?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
On Facebook today, someone that lives on Merry Meeting was talking about they could hear gunshots going off, and they said that it was coming from Greater Woods from the target shooting area. So
Hope they called the police.
I'm not sure if I should be making suggestions or just being quiet, because it's like, where's the commissioner and where's the friend? So I just stayed out of the conversation. So, but I will tell her on the QT, if she hears stuff in the future, call the police.
Yeah. We're telling everyone that.
Okay.
They contact us. That's an enforcement issue, and I'm not going to go up there.
No, I don't blame you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's an enforcement issue, and the police are aware of that location, and they can.
Gotcha.
They can deal with that. Anyone else? I got one thing to add. I don't know if everyone was involved, and they saw that letter. We received a letter regarding a a beaver problem over in off of West. Is that West Chamberlain or East Chamberlain? West Chamberlain.
West.
That's West Chamberlain. There's the Sauhegan River runs right there, right over, and I've spoken to both the person who wrote the letter and the other woman who made the initial email to us regarding the problem initially. I think there was some miscommunication between the two of them regarding trapping and if someone was going to trap or if someone did trap. So as of right now, it doesn't look as though anyone did any trapping. So it's they were under the impression that they did not own that property. Their property goes all the way down to the brook, or to the Sauhegan River. So, and I believe the town's got an easement over there. I've not been able to look it up yet, but I believe the town has an easement going behind that parcel along the water. And
Yes.
so they were under the impression that was not their property, and so their property line goes down to the water. So I just let them know we gave them their pamphlets. They're both happy about that, and hopefully that'll be the end of the issue. But they were happy about
Good.
being contacted. So
Thank you.
all right. Seeing nothing else, do we want to get into minutes?
That's right.
Did anyone get a chance to review the minutes?
Yep, I did.
Besides Cindy? Yes? Yep, we can do them? Okay. All right, so starting with the meetings of September 12th, does anybody have any corrections? Or I need to make a motion to.
I move with Cindy's corrections.
No.
A second. I like that movie.
I don't know. Gina's been upping me. She's been finding ones that I haven't been finding.
I actually read these last time. I was like, yay, I read them, because I went on and I actually went on to the town website and printed them out.
Oh, that's right.
Yay, me.
I know. That's good.
You want to go first?
Sure. Motion to approve with updates.
It's already been made. and seconded.
Okay. Oh.
We're way beyond. We're just
See, I
we're just
told
letting
you.
rip.
I'm
Just- you go-
slipping.
You go at
Slipping.
it. Just go.
The foot's been really affecting me. So,
It's so far from the brain, too.
I know, but okay, let's see.
A
Page.
backhand movement in that direction
Five.
that would not be inappropriate at this time.
Yeah, I'll get them from both sides. Page 5, row 6. I think it just, at least it reads better, might be interesting. So it might be interested. Okay, so I was think about it. And then same page, 5, row 32. I think it should be the property owner. Owned. And bless you. Page 6. Row 53. I wasn't sure what that should say. It says where the stormwater lets out, there is in an easement area, not on the property line.
I think there should come out.
Get rid of the word in.
Okay. Yep. Okay. And that's all.
Okay.
Gina. Gina.
So page 4, line 38. I think this is the last time we're going to see the Continental Drive, because it seems like it's starting to get fixed now.
Oh.
Did you say 38 or 48?
38.
So let me just chime in here. That's
You can't change
the line from the agenda, direct verbatim.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so that way you know what's being spoken about in the the subsequent paragraph.
Gotcha.
So I would say
So
that we
leave
leave
that.
drive there for now.
Okay. Sounds good. This is just a question on line 47. They're talking about the turtles around the Horse Hill Nature Preserve. Were the transmitters on those turtles, or were there some other turtles that were off Continental that had transmitters?
No, only Horse Hill.
Okay, all right. Okay, and then on page 6, line 45, they will be bringing their guests in. In is in there twice, so just cross out one of the ins. And on page
That
7.
makes sense.
What?
They're bringing the guests in a bus.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll leave it then. This
There should
doesn't
be a
make
comma there,
sense.
but
Oh, right.
Page 7. Take your choice on line 48 or 49. The motion was, oh, no, that's not right. Motion was made, so it's line 48. Motion was made by Vice Chair.
Oh.
Cindy, you've been promoted.
Yes.
No.
Second.
Yeah.
So it should
But
be
there's two
motion
Glens
by
there.
Vice Chairman Karen instead of.
That's Jim McCarron.
I made the motion and seconded it. Yeah.
Okay, and that's all I have.
That's good.
Can you hear me? All right, I got a couple. Page 1, line 44. It's not DNR power, it's DR power.
Ooh, good one.
Line 55, I'm not sure if what he said, but the curbing's not 6 inches off the ground.
Sorry. 44 DR power, not DNR. Thank you. Line 55. The curbing is not 6 inches off the ground. that curbing's contiguous all the way around at 6 inches high.
Above the ground, maybe.
Well, right, and I'm not sure, and again, that might be verbatim what he said, but,
Yeah.
I don't,
There is 6-inch curbing all the way across the parking lot.
yeah, there's a curbing 6 inches high.
Yeah, but I like Tom's edit better.
Okay.
There is 6-inch curbing all the way across the parking lot.
Okay.
And just take the whole parentheses out and move the 6
enough.
inches into the sentence, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, because this is not a quote. It's very
Okay, perfect,
appropriate.
thank you.
yeah.
Page 2, line 17. ADP Septic. I cannot find that company anywhere. I don't believe that's the name of the company, but we'd have to go back into the tape or try to figure out what he said. Because that's a company out in Colorado somewhere.
Oh.
And line 4, I'm sorry, page 4, line 12. I communicated with Lori Barrett. Chairman Perry informed the commission of a discussion he had communicated with Lori Barrett. Oh wait, if he had with Lori Barrett, sorry, wait a second. I guess I read that wrong. A discussion he had, all right, yeah, forget it. Scratch that.
It's okay the way it is?
Yeah, it's okay the way it is. On that same page, line 57, I believe we've lost a word in there. I think we reached a decision on mapping all the existing trails in Greater Woods.
Mm-hmm.
That
Oh, yeah.
make sense? And that's it. So everyone in favor of accepting that?
Probably A-B-B-E-E septic.
AB septic, okay?
Yeah,
Sounds familiar.
well, yeah, I'm not sure they're in that business, but it might be.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Right down the street.
yeah, I just gave them business last week.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Aye.
Oh.
All those in favor?
Aye.
600.
Sorry.
Motion's passed.
Getting tired.
Getting late.
No,
Yeah, I know.
All right. Do we want to do the October minutes too? Cindy, have you read them?
Yes.
Gina, did you read them?
I read them, but not quite as carefully, but I didn't find anything, did you?
Yeah, right.
What do you think?
I'll make a motion to move with Cindy's corrections.
Second.
If any.
I to that.
I didn't have very many. So on page 2, row 14, and maybe I'm just not reading it right, the second sentence, it is probably going to gate, don't need to mow. Does that mean like going to be gated, or is that
Gated.
a phrase?
I believe that we determined that they're probably going to take care of that road. We're assuming they're gonna maintain that road, so I don't know what the gate and mowing are two separate items.
So I wasn't at the meeting, but I seem to think you tied the two of them together, because this line in the minutes is what triggered me to make sure that that when I wrote the letter to MVD, that it included the concept of gates and mowing.
Right, it's going to need a new gate. We knew that. And we asked them, you know, and once, but that's what I'm saying, is it's gonna need a new gate,
Yeah.
period. And once they construct the road, we probably won't need to mow it.
Right.
But until that time, we're going to continue to maintain it, or ask DPW to maintain it. So it's going to need a new gate.
So I think
Is
it's,
one item.
I think it's true. I mean, I think the change is gate should become gated.
Yeah.
Be gated.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be gated, but
Going, oh yeah, it's going to be gated. Yeah, you're right, be gated. Yeah.
but in continuing that sentence though,
And we may not need to mow.
well, you know, after MVD installs the well, we won't need to mow it. But the rest of that statement is true.
And on page 3, kind of a similar question, row 25. The bridge will have to clear span the water.
Yes.
Is that a term? I don't know.
We're going to clear we're not going to have any,
Nothing in the water.
no post in the water.
Oh, okay.
However,
That's why I didn't know if that was a term, just a clear span. I wasn't sure
Yeah.
what that.
I think that is a little misleading though, because it makes it sound like we're going to build a 50 or 55 foot long bridge that's a clear span. And that is not the case.
Okay.
So the bridge in total will be 50 to 55 feet long. And we will be clear spanning the water, which is roughly 10 feet.
Oh, okay.
So
So it should say the bridge will have to clear span the water and will ultimately be 50 to 55 feet long.
yeah, that's fine.
That covers it.
And that's all I have.
You're up, Gina.
I have a correction on page 2.
Okay.
Gina's all set.
Oh, yeah, she's all ready to go. Yeah.
Okay.
So on line 3, town council is SEL. It's the attorney version of council.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh.
Never would have seen that.
Yeah, I know. I haven't either.
Having been one of those
Yeah.
councils, I'm a little in tune with that word
Okay.
still. Even
I
though it's been
see.
over 6 years, I'm still in tune with it.
I see what he means.
So that's the
Yeah.
only correction I have.
Count.
Okay.
Lawyer, counsel. Okay.
Anyone
Makes
else?
sense.
Corrections? How do we vote?
Oh.
Approve the minutes as mid?
In favor.
In favor?
Five is aye. 5-0, one
One.
abstaining.
I abstain, yeah.
Tim abstains. Motion passes 5-0-1. Okay. Public comment.
Okay.
I know you guys are trying to get out of here.
No.
My name's Paul LaBrie. I live on BB Lane.
Oh,
I'll be seeing you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Again, thanks for the correspondence. Basically, I just wanted to come down sort of for a civics lesson today. It's the first time that I've, been to town, school meetings and everything else in Nashua where I used to live, and it was hundreds of people, so this is kind of neat. But I want to thank you for the ability to get married down at the Greater Woods.
I'm
We
glad it worked
had,
out so well.
It was fantastic.
Yeah,
So,
Good for you. That's
tomorrow's for the hunting and whatever, but today I just want to, stop in and get my civics lesson and say thanks.
Yeah.
It was good. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
can
thank
we,
you.
Thank
can we
you.
get you to sign our
Sure.
thing? So the minutes taker gets it right?
awesome. And we can send you junk mail.
No.
Yeah, no. Actually, you're signing up to join the commission. No. We have
I was
openings.
thinking of that after this whole hunting thing.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Yeah, it's really an enlistment paper.
Yeah, that's right.
Go look at the carbon underneath there.
Yeah. And now you have all these witnesses. No.
Cool. Nice to meet you, Paul.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. Congratulations.
And we are looking for volunteers, so.
Yeah. In case you didn't get that part. Yeah.
Love my Greater Woods. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it.
We usually don't go this long. We really don't.
Yeah, we
This
don't.
Is, this
Yeah,
is,
you look like you're all starting to fade. I thought it was gonna go slow, but-
We're trying to get out of here.
No. Yeah, it's later night than usual.
All right.
Thanks.
you.
Thanks for
Good night.
coming. Mhm.
All right, that closes public comment. Commissioner comments, make them short.
I don't have any.
None.
None. Tim? No. Tom?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Say.
Oh,
You're a second. All those in favor?
yeah.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. It is now 10 o'clock.
Woo!
And, wow, that's a lot.